All too well. It was a year ago in the confines of Rosenblatt Stadium where Arkansas and Wichita State battled twice in the College World Series. In two hard-fought battles, the Razorbacks came up empty, while the Shockers scrapped their way to 3 more victories and their first-ever national title. But graduation robbed Wichita State of its shocking power. In 1990, they get it done in a variety of ways, and Gene Stevenson has them poised and ready to defend their title. For Norm DeBryan in Arkansas, it was supposed to be a rebuilding year, but the Hogs reloaded and won their second straight Southwest Conference championship. From America's heartland, it's 2 of the nation's best. 5th-ranked Arkansas takes on number 9 Wichita State. We're at the home of the defending national champions of college baseball, X Stadium in Wichita, Kansas, as the Shockers take on the Razorbacks. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to college baseball on ESPN. As the road to Omaha gets underway, I'm Tim Brando, and as you can tell, it is truly a windy day in Wichita. A pair of teams that are perennial powers in college baseball. Both have already secured their regular season conference championships. Their conference tournaments will begin next week, but anything less than a return appearance to Omaha at the College World Series would be deemed a disappointment. Working with me today for the first time, we welcome Billy Sample. 9 years he played in the big leagues, but perhaps more specifically for us today, former James Madison Duke. It's good to have you with us.
Thanks, Tim, and it's good to be around the excitement of college baseball.
They're excited in Fayetteville, Arkansas, over a team that consistently has been well-balanced, but this year has a bit more punch.
Well, Tim, you know, in the 75 years of the Southwest Conference, Texas has won the tournament 62 times or won the regular season. Arkansas only twice, but more importantly, last year and this year outright. They have good balance. On defense, anchored by catcher, strong-arm catcher Tony Gilmore. On offense, 6 players that have stolen 10 or more bases. They don't have the power they had last year, but they have power in the number 3 and 4 spots. Kurt Fisker and Greg DeAlexander. They have combined for more than 50% of the Razorbacks' 44 home runs.
It has not been the quintessential Wichita State kind of year offensively while defending their national title. As a matter of fact, when we spoke to Gene Stevenson about defending, he sounded somewhat disappointed.
Well, I think some of the things that really concern us are the fact that most of our returning players have not had the kind of years that we expected of them. And I think that's hurt us a little bit because each year we think that our returning players should be guys that improve their statistics from the year before, and usually that's been the case. But this year it's been a little bit different because they haven't had the kind of years that they had last year.
But all isn't that bad, Billy. I mean, after all, they have won 43 games and the Missouri Valley Conference again.
Well, Tim, they keep winning. They haven't hit their .306 team batting average, the lowest in 7 seasons. But they found a diamond in the rough, and he'll be on the mound today. Right-hander Kennie Steenstra, he's 9-0. When you talk about Steenstra, you talk about poise, you talk about talent, you talk about control, attributes you usually give to somebody that's a lot older, but he's only a freshman. He'll be back for 2 more years for the Shockers.
A lot of freshmen for this Wichita State team. It's their youth against the savvy of Arkansas as they prepare for one another. ESPN's presentation of college baseball, Arkansas versus Wichita State, is brought to you by Pizza Hut, home of America's favorite pan pizza. Pizza Hut, making it great. And by Anacin, concentrated for powerful pain relief. Coming up are good right-handers, Doug Bennett and Kennie Steenstra, as the Hogs meet the Shockers in Wichita.
Up in the distance, the game's dragging on. There are strikes on the batter, some runners are on. Everyone's pointing, I look up above, and a baseball falls into my glove. I play right field, it's important you know, way out where the dandelions grow. Making it great.
Some people think he's a Superman, but when a 43-year-old has to throw 75 fastballs, even Nolan Ryan's muscles can ache. So after the game, it's the medicine doctors recommend most for sprains and strains, Advil.
For me, it's a couple of Advil, and those muscle aches are long gone. And Advil's gentler on my stomach than aspirin.
Today, it isn't aspirin or Tylenol. It's Advil.
I feel ready to go another 9 innings.
Advil, tablets and caplets, advanced medicine for pain.
Welcome back to X Stadium in Wichita. The conditions this afternoon, not bad considering the weather here last night. Mostly cloudy with a temperature of 63 degrees. The wind's gusting at 20 miles per hour. Now let's meet the starting lineup for the Arkansas Razorbacks under Coach Norm DeBryan in his 21st year at the helm, coming off his second straight Southwest Conference championship. Leading off, a speedy youngster in left field, Jeff Houck, a speed merchant that they'll utilize. Hitting number 2, elevated to the number 2 hole this year, Mark Johnson in center field. The power-laden lineup begins with Kurt Pisker, the designated hitter, hitting in the 3rd hole. The cleanup man, Greg DeAlexander, has 3 Grand Slam home runs this year. Hitting 5th, Bubba Carpenter out of West Fork High School. He'll be in right. Batting 6th at first base from Northeast High School in North Little Rock, Hayden Etheridge. Tony Gilmore, an outstanding arm behind home plate, will hit 7th. Batting 8th at shortstop from Jinx, Oklahoma, Scott Epps. And batting number 9, Tim Thomas out of St. Paul, Minnesota.
Defensively for the Shockers in right field, strong arm Carl Hall. Jim Ollie with his speed in center. The fastest man on the team, Chris Wimmer, in left. Steady Pat Mears at third base. Mike Lansing nursing a bad hamstring. He'll start at short. DJ Forbes, a fixture at second. Jamie Tarr at first. Doug Mirabelli behind the plate, a 6th-round draft pick of the Tigers. And on the mound, Kennie Steenstra. 9-0, 2.33. Averages about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. His repertoire consists of a fastball, curveball change, nice smooth motion as you look at him, and he has a lot of poise, a lot of control.
And a pitcher that, in many respects, pitches his best under the most difficult of circumstances.
Errors don't rattle him. Bad pitches or bad calls don't rattle him. And even when he gives up a couple hits an inning, which he hasn't done a lot this season, he seems to bounce back, seems to thrive on situations like that.
The dimensions at Eck Stadium, really a hitter's ballpark. 330 down the line, 375 in the power alleys, and 390 to straightaway center. But we should point out that this afternoon, the wind that is gusting upwards of 20 miles per hour is blowing in. So that should help the pitchers. The umpires, we have 4 of them this afternoon. Behind the plate, Tim Davis over at first. Keith Jackson. Dennis Walker will be at second. And Mike Hall will be calling down the third base lines. Leading off for the Razorbacks, the switch hitter, Jeff Houck. A youngster that has great quickness and has really helped set the table. You see the on-base average truly exemplifies what Arkansas has done offensively throughout the course of the year.
Well, it helps because Houck is only 5'2". Doesn't he look like he belongs in American Legion ball? And, of course, has a small strike zone.
First pitch, a fastball on the outside corner at the knees for a strike. 0-1 the count.
But sometimes those short guys have that Napoleon complex. They want to show you that they can, and to come to Arkansas's program as a freshman and start.
Right back at Steenstra. He misplays it, and it's in time. Marvelous play by P.J. Forbes. Well, you can say thank you to the turf that time. This is one of the few fields that has both the turf inside and the grass on the outfield.
And Forbes, the senior, he's been a fixture, and he makes that play barehanded. That's the only play he could make, and he gets a fortunate bounce, but you still have to make the play.
And Keith Jackson punches him out, the umpire over at first base. 1 down. And Mark Johnson stands in. Ball missing outside, 1-0. Steenstra, a location pitcher as you look at the numbers on Johnson. 34 RBIs hitting out of the 2 hole. And when we say location, yeah, he does have the 3 pitches that you mentioned, but he does move them around a bit in the strike zone.
Oh, he's in and out, and if you lean over too much, he knows how to get you off the plate.
Ball down in the strike zone, fisted foul. 1-1 the count to Johnson out of Crowder Junior College, a transfer out of Neosho, Missouri.
And he has been moved up to the number 2 spot. and at first was only playing against right-handers, but he has rewarded Norm DeBryan so well that he plays against left-handers also. This is the change. It looks like one of those circle changes that goes away. If you've got a changeup, it's great to take the speed off, but sometimes unless you have good movement on it away from the hitter, they can still keep their hands back enough to get enough on the ball to lift it over the infield. That time it didn't happen.
3-2 the count. A ball missing inside, a fastball from Steenstra, and the count is run to full.
No, I mean it was.
Chopper again past Steenstra. Tough chance for Lansing. He's in there safely. But Jackson was ready to gun him down again. Another close play at first base. Lansing playing on that tough hamstring pull.
And you mentioned the tough hamstring, but he got over in front of the ball. It's just the fact that Johnson, the second fastest runner on the Arkansas Razorback team, was able to beat that out in the infield.
So a infield single for Mark Johnson and Kirk Pisker. He of the 12 home runs throughout the course of the year, hitting from the right side, stands in. Johnson, again in that number 2 position over at first base. 25 stolen bases this year, has only been caught 3 times. Norm DeBryan likes to move his runners. And in college baseball, and we haven't had a game in some time, we should point this out, that the pickoff play is very much a part of the game. And Mirabelli very good at it, accomplished at it behind the plate for Wichita State.
And not only that, but they seem to be very lenient with allowing the pitchers to get away with some moves to first base or second base, especially to the off bases, second and third base, where you can kick and spin almost as if you're going to the plate.
A drive into left field for a base hit beyond Pat Mears at third, and runners at second and first after back-to-back singles for Arkansas. And that'll stack the deck for Greg DeAlexander, the cleanup hitter, the third baseman for Arkansas. Many a head coach works the bases in college baseball. There's Norm DeBryan in his 21st year over at third. Rod Moore, who played in the College World Series back in '87 for Arkansas over at first base.
An outfielder who works with the outfielders.
DeAlexander takes the strike on the outside corner. The numbers are outstanding. His defense just as good. This is a youngster that has a future at the next level.
He was a draft pick last year of the Baltimore Orioles. And in spite of the fact that he's a pull hitter, indicative of the outfield defense, you think they're going to pitch him away, and Steenstra does, but he misses low and outside.
Steenstra with some good heat. The 1-1 forthcoming. Just missed down low. 2-1 the count. Runners at second and first, 1 out. We're in the top half of the first inning from Wichita. Tim Brando along with Billy Sample. Happy you joined us. There are the runners. Johnson at second, Pisker at first. Right up the middle, a base hit. This should bring in 1 run. The throw as Johnson comes in to score, and Arkansas has the 1-0 lead. Well, you'd like to say Steenstra's got the ball up in the zone. He doesn't. Arkansas hitting some good pitchers' pitches here.
Looks like Steenstra takes something off this pitch. Change up low. Just a good piece of hitting. Try to hit it up the middle, and he does. Johnson had to wait to see if the line drive would carry to the outfield, but he still had enough speed to score.
DeAlexander at first, Pisker at second, and Bubba Carpenter takes a strike on the outside corner. Bubba hitting .375, and again, the on-base average, and you look at that, over 500, very selective at the plate, 32 RBIs.
He leads the club in walks, as you would think, with a .511 on-base percentage. And he eyes a pretty good pitch on the outside corner.
Gene Stevenson. Over 700 coaching victories in just 13 seasons. And a national championship a season ago. took this program and began it from scratch in 1978. They had dropped baseball here at Wichita for a period of 6 years. Difficult job indeed to turn it around that quickly.
I'm still trying to figure out how they played 74 games the year they started baseball again.
Pisker over at second base with a modest lead. And a strike on the outside corner. He came with a heat.
Steenstra staying outside. And with the wind, we mentioned the wind is actually a crosswind blowing from left to right. I doubt if many balls are going to get out to left field. Although Carpenter has some power to left center, the ball might stay up because of the wind, and the outfielders can run under it.
There you see it blowing in from left center field. The 2-2. Grounded to Steenstra again. He only can get a glove on it, but he does get the put out. Score at 1-3. There are 2 down. Runners at second and third as they advance on the ground ball. So Bubba Carpenter's retired. 2 down. And another left-hander comes up. Hayden Etheridge, the Razorback first baseman.
You almost get the feeling that Arkansas said, okay, let's take this guy up the middle. He'll change speeds. He's working on the curveball and the changeup, and a lot of balls have come right back at Steenstra. A couple of times he wasn't able to get the glove on it enough.
Etheridge, a switch hitter, but has opted more to swing from the left side this year. Takes a strike. And again, the runners, the Alexander and Pisker. Alexander over at second and Pisker at third base.
And with a base open, a left-hander up now, a right-hander on deck. Steenstra can afford to be a little more selective.
Again, it's nubbed right back to Kenny, and he's out of it. But Arkansas, on a couple of infield hits and a solid single to center, get 3 hits, 1 run. And they take a 1-0 lead over Wichita State. Gene Stevenson, the head coach of the Shockers, will have this lineup coming at the Hogs today. Jim Audley will be leading off. He'll be in center field. Batting second, P.J. Forbes of St. Mary's High School. Batting third, the question mark coming in, Mike Lansing, playing on that injured leg. Pat Mears, who has had a disappointing year at the plate, will hit cleanup at third base. Doug Mirabelli will be the catcher this afternoon, hitting in the 5-hole. Scott McLuhan, a youngster that they're really high on, will hit 6th. He's the DH. Jamie Tarr will be at first base out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. And Carl Hall, the right fielder, another youngster that's getting more playing time, just a freshman. Chris Wimmer, fastest player on the club, out in left field. And he's the number 9 hitter for Wichita State.
And setting the Razorbacks defensively, strong arm Bubba Carpenter in right, speedy Mark Johnson in center, and quick Jeff Houck in left. On the infield, dependable Greg DeAlexander at third, Scott Epps at short, Tim Thomas at second, and junior Hayden Etheridge at first behind the plate. We told you about Tony Gilmore. He has a gun. And on the mound, Doug Bennett, making his 14th start of the season. 8-1, 3.19, as you see there. He averages about a strikeout per inning, 79 innings, 74 strikeouts. So you know he's coming at you hard. Hard fastball, hard slider, and a change.
And they say that he'll ride that fastball up in the strike zone when he really feels it, when he's on.
Especially with 2 strikes, because a lot of hitters see that pitch in their eyes, and it looks good because it's in their eyes, but they can't catch up to it that high.
Bennett just got a bit of a monkey off his back. He went the distance in last Saturday's game against Texas A&M, and prior to that time, he had not gone beyond 7 innings while a pitcher at Arkansas. So that is good news indeed for Norm DeBryan, because he really is lacking the long and middle relief guy. He does have the stopper as a closer in relief, but he looks for his starters to go 6 to 7 innings for his team to be effective.
And pitching coach John Ludke felt that, along with Coach Norm DeBryan, that it was just a mental block with Bennett. He just couldn't get past that 7th inning. Now he's got that over. He can get over the hump, but he knows that if he can get to the 7th, then he has Stidham in the bullpen, and he's been the closer. He hasn't failed in many save situations. He has 9.
Here is Jim Audley to lead off for Wichita State. He promptly grounds one to second, and it gets right through the webbing of Tim Thomas. E4 to start the game for Arkansas. And Wichita State has something going in the bottom of the first.
Well, it rained hard the last 2 days, and Thomas just didn't get down. The ball actually scooted on him a little bit, but went right through the wicket, and of course that's an error.
Audley aboard. Our score 1-0, and Wichita State, because they don't have the power they've had in past years, have been starting runners more this year than in most seasons. Audley 14 for 21 in stolen bases, and P.J. Forbes a pretty active bat.
Oh, that just missed.
Up high in the zone, 2-0 the count. Check that, 1-0.
And the Shockers are stealing at an 82% rate as a team. By comparison, Vince Coleman steals at 83%, so you know how successful their team has been on the bases. But Gilmore behind the plate, he might be able to check some of that running.
Gilmore amazingly threw out 11 consecutive runners this year at one point, 23 of 44 this year. But that's an amazing statistic to have thrown out 11 consecutive would-be base stealers.
And some of the Southwest Conference speedsters like Kyle Moody and Calvin Murray of Texas and Allen of Rice, those guys can get down to base paths in a hurry.
Certainly makes life easier on someone like a Doug Bennett when thinking about having to hold runners at first base early in a ball game. They start Audley, and here's the throw. Dead meat. No doubt about it, and Gilmore does possess the gun that we thought.
Well, now that we have that established, where are you going to go from here? A low pitch, he comes up firing. Almost short-hopped it, and it was no doubt about it.
Folks, that's the arm of the catcher. And, boy, does it pay dividends. A single to right for Forbes, and he's aboard at first base. They consider he was out by almost 2 steps at second base, and it was a breaking ball down that he had to reach for.
And he almost didn't have to slide, and you see he has a good lead. He splits the cutout. He looks back. Maybe they had the hit and run on, but I'm sure that even if he had the straight steal, Audley would have been out, and he has good speed.
Mike Lansing steps up to the plate. 1-0 our score. The line score just underway. Bottom half of the first inning from Eck Stadium in Wichita, Kansas. The defending national champion Shockers and the Southwest Conference champion Arkansas Razorbacks underway on ESPN. Again, a breaking ball in the strike zone for strike one call.
And we were talking about Gilmore. The way I've heard him described, he reminds me a little bit of Mark Parent with the San Diego Padres. Strong arm, not going to hit a whole lot, but he's got some power. He'll be a 270 hitter, probably a Sunday or Saturday afternoon catcher.
Fastball as he busts him inside and he fouls it away. 0-2 the count. Lansing playing despite that hamstring pull to his left leg. The injury occurred last Sunday in a game at Creighton as he tried to stretch a double into a triple. And this is a youngster that's had a history of injuries. He had surgery to repair a ruptured disc just a season ago. Here's the 0-2. Fastball just missing. So he tries to paint the black of the plate. 1-2 the count.
And 2 seasons before that, a fastball found his jaw. So we use the word adversity a lot, but he certainly has gone through his injury adversity on many occasions.
Forbes with a modest lead at first. And again, down the right field line, foul. Both Forbes and Lansing going with the pitch properly to the right side. And that one had double and perhaps an RBI written all over it.
I think so. It would have kicked in that corner. A little bit of a hockey rink down the right field line. Let me clear up something, Tim, when I said a Saturday or Sunday afternoon catcher. That's a guy that's not going to start, but that's going to relieve the regular catcher, and usually that's done a day game after a night game, and that's usually on a Sunday.
The outfield is shading Lansing to the right side. These are the 2 top hitters. The one on board at first base, Forbes, and Lansing currently at the plate. Check swing, oh, by the way, foul. back up our way.
And all you can do is fight that pitch off. He's trying to protect the plate, moving in with 2 strikes, and Bennett running that pitch in on him, trying to keep the outside corner to himself.
In many respects, the fact that Lansing is playing this game tells you something about how focused both Stevenson and DeBryan are. This is a game that could be rendered meaningless by some. These two clubs know that to get to Omaha, Nebraska, they'll have to beat someone like this in the NCAA regionals coming up.
And when we spoke to Norm DeBryan yesterday, he said there's still a little bit of something. I don't know if we could characterize what it was, but losing to Wichita and being eliminated by the Shockers last year, he wanted to win this game.
2-2 the count, 1 out and 1 on. That one nearly got away.
And you saw what Gilmore just flipped his finger toward his thumb, actually, towards first base, wanting a throw there.
3 hits for Arkansas in the top half of the first to bring home a run. Wichita State with 1 hit already in their half of the first, and that one's fouled out of play down the right field side. Norm DeBryan, what a fun guy. Been at it for a long, long time in Arkansas, 21 years. And this is a conference, the Southwest Conference, that is all Texas-based with the exception of Arkansas. They have been really the Rodney Dangerfields for many years, and now an outright title to combine with the co-championship a season ago with Texas A&M. They are now riding high in Fayetteville.
Oh, the people in Northwest Arkansas have to be very happy.
Breaking ball right back to the first baseman Etheridge for the double play. That'll do it. We've played 1. Arkansas leads Wichita State 1-0. Gilmore, Epps, and Thomas coming up.
Hi, friends. At John Youngblood's, your low-price king of the Ozarks, we have payments that are affordable for everyone. Hold on, these can't be that low. Wait, a 1985 Cutlass, $55 down, $118 a month. A 1984 Maxima wagon, only $98 a month. Remember, our service hours have been extended, and our coffee's always on. What a place!
Springfield, Chrysler, Plymouth, BMW, Nissan. 3505 South Campbell, Spring.
Driving out here can be risky. So can driving out there. Hi, I'm Jerry Miller, driver of the Lang Miller race car, reminding you that when you're holding onto the wheel of a car, you're also holding on to your life and the lives of others. Driving is serious business, and there's only 2 ways to do it, safe and sober. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Night, the hard-charging Pirates are on a roll.
He leaps, he makes the catch.
They battle the Astros on Sunday Night Baseball, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
It's not a shot clock, as we have in college basketball or in the NBA, but it is an inning clock. You're looking at an inning clock that is utilized in the Missouri Valley Conference. The length of time between pitches, 20 seconds when the bases are empty. And a ball is called if the pitch is not delivered within the 20 seconds. The time limit between innings, 90 seconds, and a strike is called if the batter is not poised at the plate. And it really has helped speed up the game in the Missouri Valley Conference. And Wichita State coach Gene Stevenson is truly a pioneer in helping to get this rule that, by the way, does exist in the NCAA to finally be implemented with the help of a clock, Billy.
It has been the game about a half hour, I should say.
Tony Gilmore, the Arkansas catcher. To the hole, it's short. Lansing can't come up with it. So it should be the second error of the game, the first committed by Wichita State. And Gilmore is aboard.
And you get the feeling Lansing nursing that hamstring. Maybe he didn't bend down just enough. Yeah, that's an error. He had time to actually get in front of that, but it was deep in the hole, and he wanted to throw across his body.
One of the things that Lansing and any other shortstop would have to be cognizant of on this field is many times setting up on the grass and then coming up to the turf. Ball inside to Scott Epps, the shortstop of Arkansas, hitting .302.
Well, for the shortstop to do that, Tim, I think if it's that deep, I'd be surprised if anybody has the arm to throw out somebody unless somebody's really slow running from the plate.
The hit and run is on, and Epps makes it happen with a base hit to right. And Gilmore will come over to third, and there are runners at the corners with none down.
And we see Arkansas going up the middle, going to the opposite field. They have really been on Steenstra, the off-speed pitch, the curveball. He has pretty good location. Target outside, he hits the target. Epps just goes with the pitch on the hit and run.
Epps at first with the fourth hit of the game for Arkansas. Tim Thomas hitting .299, really works the clock and the count as a hitter. We mentioned the clock a moment ago. Hap Dumont of the National Baseball Congress helped get that going, and I think was the spearhead, the late Hap Dumont, for Gene Stevenson helping to get the Missouri Valley Conference to bring in the pitch clock and the inning clock to help speed up games.
And it seems to be working. If you know you have a 7 o'clock game that's going to be over in 2.5 hours, then maybe you could bring more of the family out. You know you can get back and get the kids in bed.
That one just on the inside corner at the knees. 1-1 to count. And we mentioned it a moment ago, but we should point it out again. With runners on base, the clock no longer in play. Pitchers obviously have to be afforded the time to check the runners. Thomas goes right back up the middle. Could be two. Lansing gets one. He gets two, and the run scores. Gilmore comes across, and the Hogs have a 2-0 lead.
Up the middle, the runner in motion brought the shortstop Lansing to the bag. So that time the aggression backfired a little bit, but they still get a run.
Alk is hit. That pitch just getting away from Kennie Steenstra.
And you got the feeling that Steenstra was almost too perfect for a while, that he needed to come inside. I'm not sure if that was inside. Well, I don't know. That was definitely inside. I'm not sure if he needed to come that far inside, but he had been almost so perfect to these guys, not really moving them off the plate, pitches down the middle.
I'm beginning to wonder now if home plate umpire Tim Davis is discussing whether or not, in fact, the ball hit Jeff Houck or not, or at least Gene Stevenson was concerned. But Houck is aboard at first base. 2 down. Bottom half of the second inning. And another run across for Arkansas, and they lead it 2-0. Mark Johnson singled his first time. An infield single. And again, they go the opposite way. It's lifted to Wimmer in left, and that'll do it. 1 run for Arkansas on 1 hit, 1 error, and we've played 1.5. They lead it 2-0.
Speed. Rico Fax Speed. Rico's auto dial makes super fast transmissions. Power. Rico Fax Power, the world's first dual roll fax. Rico plain paper fax. Rico, where imagination becomes reality. To find the Rico office nearest you, dial 1-800-63-RICO.
There are those who thirst for something different. An escape from the ordinary. For them, there is a beer that refreshes like no other. Michelob Dry. Once you've experienced its bold taste with no aftertaste, there's no going back.
Once you hit 30, it's all over. Your legs are shot, your whole body goes to pot. Forget about sports entirely. You have to be serious all the time. You can't eat anything that tastes good. Creamed corn.
Who says you have to give up the things you like? Give up something you won't miss, like a little oil. Ruffles light, Cheetos light, Doritos light. Never give up the taste.
All sizes and ages having a good time this day before Mother's Day in Wichita, Arkansas, with a 2-0 lead. And there are the Missouri Valley Conference standings. Wichita State will be the host team by virtue of their better in-conference record against Indiana State for the tiebreaker. Southern Illinois, a fine team. Creighton also very good, all expected to garner NCAA play. A very cloudy day, windy day at times here at X Stadium. Tim Brando along with Billy Sample, happy you joined us. Here in the bottom half of the second inning, Pat Mears will lead off, the third baseman for Wichita State. Doug Bennett with a strike up high around the belt on the inside corner.
I don't know how much of it they do in college baseball. It's been a while since I played, but after that knockdown pitch to the leadoff batter, Houck, I was wondering if Bennett might retaliate. This would be the guy, the first guy up, and the leading home run hitter.
Breaking ball down low to Pat Mears, and you see the pitch time again, as we mentioned in the last half inning, 20 seconds between pitches allowed. And while it is a Missouri Valley Conference rule, Norm DeBryan, as other coaches in other conferences did agree to have it utilized today. Check swing, foul, outside third base side. Stevenson makes an outstanding point that the game of college baseball needs to take chances that perhaps the other leagues would not, and that quickening the pace of all of baseball, not just college baseball, is basically very good and appreciated by the fans.
And he knows TV producers like it, so he mentions that time and time again.
In fact, the clock is working in many respects along with us today. Pitch just outside. The clock is altered somewhat so we can have the time for TV commercials that air between half innings, but still it's being implemented by a red hat, which we normally would use to start play in our television productions. The 2-2. Breaking ball down in the dirt, and the count is run to full to Pat Mears.
Well, we still have to find a way to pay your 7-figure salary.
Yeah. The show better be sponsored, right, Billy? Mears out of Salina, Kansas, a junior with outstanding potential. And he takes strike 3 call on the outside corner.
Now, this is a perfect pitch. Outside corner, knee high. Nothing you can do about it except hopefully foul it off. And Mears offered no objection.
Here is Doug Mirabelli coming up to the plate. Hitting .326, 7 home runs, 37 RBIs. Takes the ball up in the strike zone.
I mentioned earlier that he was a 6th-round draft pick of the Tigers. He was so good that Tyler Houston, the Braves' first-round draft pick last year and the number 2 pick overall, didn't catch. He was drafted as a catcher, but he didn't catch at Las Vegas Valley High School. Houston played shortstop.
Mirabelli, along with Gilmore, 2 of the bright stars behind home plate that you'll find in college baseball. And when you think of Mirabelli, yeah, he comes in with some great credentials, but you have to go a long way to pass an Eric Wedge, a guy that was an emotional leader already playing at the AA level in his first year in the pros.
Yes, he's at the Red Sox organization, their AA team, but they've had a history of strong catchers here, Tim. Rick Rona now with the Cubs caught here, as did Charlie O'Brien, the catcher with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Good eye, Doug.
Bennett is smooth. Nice, easy wind-up, nice high leg kick, and about 86 on the rig gun, which is the lower gun. He has a little velocity behind it.
The 2-1 pitch. Just on the inside corner, and the count is 2-2.
And you have to think, Tim, in spite of the fact that Wichita State won the World Series last year, that this might be a battle of conferences, too. And the Southwest Conference, noted to be a strong conference.
Grounder to first. Hayden Etheridge will take it unassisted. And there are 2 down.
And the Missouri Valley with just a little bit to prove. You get that feeling that they want to enhance their conference in the light of the rest of the country.
There's no question. You'd think that Wichita State's success in the decade of the 80s would have helped the Missouri Valley Conference, but Gene Stevenson would be the first to point out that most people don't respect other league members as well they should. He knows because he had to struggle come from behind to win the conference and the right to host the tournament this year.
But one thing they have done, at least here at Wichita State, is play all Division I schools now to try to enhance that perception of the Missouri Valley Conference.
Scott McLuhan at the plate. The breaking ball is driven foul, and it's 1-1. McLuhan, if the name sounds familiar to you, it should. Scott is the son of Kent McLuhan, a fine all-pro cornerback with the Oakland Raiders. In fact, his dad is still a scout for Al Davis. And his older brother, Dave, a junior starter last year for Bill McCartney's Big 8 champion Colorado Buffaloes, who finished within an Orange Bowl of a national championship in college football. Of course, Scott's dad, Kent, also played at Nebraska in the Big 8 before heading to the Raiders.
About the same time Jack Tatum was out there in the defensive backfield.
The 2-1. Swung on and missed, and the count is 2-2.
Nice and smooth is Bennett. And here comes some serious high heat.
Too good to pass up, but not enough to get it.
Well, it looks good. Anything in your eyes looks good. That's why you see hitters chase that pitch high out of the strike zone. And inversely, when you're not hitting well, you don't see the ball quite as well. And a lot of hitters will tell you in slumps, I'm not seeing the ball, I'm not seeing the ball, but sometimes you see it too well.
The count of 2-2, it'll be interesting to see if McLuhan tenses up a bit. He's an intense youngster and has that problem. Gets too stiff, and that time he simply couldn't pull the trigger.
And was frozen.
Bennett looks strong, and so does Arkansas. They lead it 2-0 through 2.
Now, when you buy Green Sweep ready-to-use lawn care products, you can save $120 on American Airlines tickets. Get a lawn to be proud of with Green Sweep. Then enjoy your $120 savings on American. It's easy with Green Sweep.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans. Or had you forgotten?
Santa Fe. For centuries, men have been mysteriously drawn to it. Santa Fe cologne for men. Discover the mystery of its attraction.
A little brains, a little luck, and a lot of late nights. A good family, a good spot, and some good advice. That's the way it's supposed to be. And USF&G is standing behind me. That's the way it's supposed to be. And USF&G is standing behind me.
I think the parents should be at fault as well as anybody else. I mean, to try to instill certain values to where that a kid should not go out and try to kill another kid for certain articles.
The line score 2-4-1 for Arkansas. We're through 2 here in Wichita, Kansas. The Hogs with the lead, and in the Southwest Conference, they win their first ever outright Southwest Conference championship. And you see Texas, and you say, wait a minute, the Longhorns didn't play as many. Well, they were rained out, and in the Southwest Conference, if you cannot make up a game within 48 hours of the rainout, you lose the opportunity to play the game. And hence, Arkansas claims an outright championship, but they had to earn it. They had to beat Texas A&M 2 out of 3 and Texas twice on the road. And speaking of Texas A&M, they may not get in their conference tournament if, in fact, Rice goes on and sweeps in that particular series. You saw last night a 5-4 victory. They could win 2 more today. And Texas A&M, a team with 45 regular season wins against Division I foes, could be left out of the conference tournament. The NCAA has never selected a team that's not made its own conference tournament for the NCAA tournament field, which will be out by May the 21st.
And only the top 4 teams will make the conference tournament. The top 4 out of 10 teams in the Southwest Conference.
Pisker with a ground ball that gets through into left center field. His second hit. And he's aboard at first base. Right. I need to correct you there. There are 8 schools in the Southwest Conference. But take a look at this swing. Again, going with a pitch.
Right up the middle, hit it where it was pitched. Maybe I was thinking about the Pac-10.
Or the Big Ten. But the league, and I think the point is well made, that even though there may be 8 schools in the Southwest Conference, the quality of play is deemed high enough that A&M should get a bid, even if they don't make the
Well, they've been ranked all
tournament.
year.
Yep, they have. Tar dug that one out as Steenstra checked Kirk Pisker. Greg DeAlexander at the plate. He has a single and an RBI, his first time in the first inning.
And we've seen some good hitting by Pisker as you look at his steals. He's a pretty big guy, but he'll take off from time to time. And certainly it helps having DeAlexander batting behind you. You're going to get some quality pitches to hit because you don't want to put Pisker on in front of DeAlexander.
There he goes. And the throw. In time. Dennis Walker, the umpire at second, took his time to make the call. But Mirabella again with a gun.
Well, Steenstra doesn't give you a lot of motion to get steps on. And Pisker got a pretty good jump. This is a bang-bang play at second, but Forbes just got his left hand as he was sliding in.
Pretty good tag by PJ. Two and one the count to DeAlexander. This is not Bubba Carpenter at the plate. Greg DeAlexander still at the plate. Pop-up fisted toward the right side, and it's 2-2. Mirabelli has thrown out 16 of 35 runners this year. We're looking at some pretty good numbers. 44 to 45%. Outstanding for a percentage in throwing out would-be base stealers.
And the amazing thing, Tim, neither club seems to be afraid to continue to run. Sometimes you look at numbers like that and you watch the way Mirabelli threw out Pisker there, and you watch the way Gilmore threw out a runner earlier, and you think, well, maybe that's going to check the running game, but they get on and they're going to run some more.
Something that hasn't changed since you played at James Madison back in the 70s, Billy, is that you can't get enough runs in college baseball. It's an aggressive game.
Oh, you're going to score 7 or 8 to win a lot of the time.
Base hit again. DeAlexander delivers to left field. And in each case, both catcher has saved their team because after runners have been thrown out, singles have followed for both clubs.
Hitting instructor Doug Clark has been working with DeAlexander with that off-speed pitch. And you see there, he stayed back, kept his weight back, his hands back, and drove it through the left side.
Here now is Bubba Carpenter, grounded out his first time. West Fork High School in Brentwood, Arkansas is home. Outside corner at the knees, 0-1. Carpenter just missed winning the Southwest Conference batting crown by 35 thousandths of a point by taking a walk in last week's game against Texas A&M. Goes with a pitch again, an inside-out swing single to left. And runners are at second and first with one down. Batting titles are won with singles like that.
No doubt. And he walked that walk on 4 pitches, so he really never had a chance. Steenstra doesn't appear to have that good fastball. I think he's going to have something to keep those hitters honest. He tried to come inside, actually, when he hit Houck in the head, but he's going to have to come in off the plate, maybe not head high, but off the plate with some kind of serious velocity to keep those guys from waiting back and just going to the opposite field.
Breaking ball down in the strike zone. The first pitch to Hayden Etheridge. Arkansas, though, has done a great job of going with the pitch. Many hits to the opposite field, and they already have 7 in 2 1/3 innings. There are the runners. Carpenter at first. DeAlexander down at second base.
And to show you how well Arkansas has hit, Steenstra gives up only 7 hits per 9 innings. Arkansas already has 7 hits.
Again, getting around late. Norm DeBryan, born in Ashland, Wisconsin, came to Arkansas to work in the health and PE department in '69, played both baseball and football at Wisconsin Oshkosh. Now up in the Ozarks. He is respected along with many a fine coach that have helped that program to the triple crown of championships in the Southwest Conference. Nolan Richardson in basketball. And now they have Jack Crow, the new head coach of their football team, who will be in his first year next fall.
That's 6 straight Southwest Conference titles. Not bad.
As a matter of fact, if you take into account the women's basketball program, they tied for the Southwest Conference championship this year and made it to the final 8 in the NCAA women's basketball tournament. Ground ball to third. Mishandled by Mears, yet he gets the put out at second. And they're 2 down. Could have been 2 had he not mishandled this one, but it was a line shot.
And the ball's going to scoot a little bit. As we said earlier, it has been wet, and it gets under his glove. It seems like a lot of guys are just not getting down enough, and he's out at second. You have to slide right into the bag at second in college baseball. Mears picks it up. He was composed enough, though, to get the lead runner.
Tony Gilmore. The Arkansas catcher up with runners at the corners and 2 down in the top of the third. Gilmore reached on an error his first time.
You get the feeling Arkansas is just one big hit away from starting a roll. And for as hard as Steenstra has been hit, he is only 1 out away from keeping this team in the game early.
Has to be frustrating for him as well, because the pitches from a location standpoint have been right where he'd want them. I think you're right, though. He needs something to help keep them off balance, something that to this point has not been in his repertoire.
But on the other side, all singles that he has given up, so he's been hit hard, but yet not hard enough to advance runners more than a base.
Etheridge getting a pretty good lead over at first, and you look down at the Alexander at third. The 2-0.
Hey, wait, it's you.
That's a strike on the outside corner. 2-1 the count.
Mirabelli set up outside, and he hit the target. Most times, if you hit the target, regardless of whether or not the glove's in the strike zone, you'll get the call.
Way to shoot, way to go, Kenny.
Again, changing speeds on the fastball, and it's 2-2.
And Gilmore probably thought that was low, but as I said just one pitch earlier, if you hit the target, you're gone in most instances.
It appears that the home plate umpire, Tim Davis, likes the ball low. And college baseball historically has a more liberal strike zone than the big leagues. The 2-2. Delayed steal. Nothing doing from third base as Hayden Etheridge goes down to second. And runners at second and third. The Alexander at third, and Etheridge now at second.
Usually you scoot about 3 steps. And there he goes, 3. Now he takes off. They still do it the same way. And there's not even a serious play at second.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. The count is full. Again, lifted the opposite way, foul.
A pretty good piece of hitting by Gilmore. After the first 2 called strikes, he couldn't afford to let that one go by. That might have been off the plate, but certainly too close to call when you've had 2 pitches on the outside corner that have been called strikes, and he just fouled it off, and that's all you could do with a pitch like that.
Tony Gilmore transferred over from Eastern Oklahoma Junior College. His home is Tulsa. Was an academic All-American at the junior college level. And now he'll see another 3-2 pitch. That one is nubbed to third. Easy for Mears, and that'll do it. Arkansas comes up empty, though they lead 2. It's a little cool, but things are heating up in Wichita. The Hogs lead it 2-0.
Experience a special Mother's Day at the Grand Fortuna, the Mother's Day Buffet, 11 different items, or the Mongolian Barbecue, both all you can eat, only $7.95. All day Sunday, Mother's Day. Mother's Day Buffet or Mongolian Barbecue, only $7.95 at the Grand Fortuna, 3839 West Chestnut Expressway.
Hi, friends of John Youngbloods. We've got a Zeal to deal. The prices are low and the payments are even better. A 1989 Nissan 4x4, only $178 a month. A 1990 Nissan Sentra, $158 a month. Remember, our service hours have been extended and our coffee's always on. What a place!
Springfield Chrysler Plymouth BMW Nissan, 3505 South Campbell, Springfield.
Baseball Tonight has all the highlights, all the news, and all the views every night. If it happens in baseball, you'll see it on Baseball Tonight, only on ESPN.
Baseball Tonight. X Stadium, Tyler Field, Wichita, Kansas. Rather cloudy day. Dorothy and Toto somewhere up there trying to find home. Well, that may be Dorothy's brother. You never know. Down near the bullpen. Tim Brando, along with Billy Sample, happy you've joined us as our road to Omaha is definitely underway. The College World Series beginning the 1st of June. Here, Arkansas with a 2-0 lead over their nemesis of a year ago, Wichita State. The Shockers beat them twice in last year's College World Series. Arkansas was out of there in a hurry. But things are different this year. Wichita State perhaps pecking away a bit more, and Arkansas with a bit more punch, something that the Shockers have been noted for over the years. Well, Jamie Tarr to lead off the third.
Wichita State lost 5 key players, Tim, from last year's team, and 3 of those pitchers. Now there's a question. Coach Stevenson wants to know where that pitch was. There's some question. Coach Stevenson's now frustrated at the third base box. Now the umpires are going to converge. First base umpire Keith Jackson and plate umpire Tim Davis. Maybe they went the 90 seconds. The 90-second clock that we talked about 2 innings earlier.
That may have happened. Yeah, Tarr was not in the box according to Arkansas. 1 ball. That's exactly right. So we're seeing the clock being implemented perhaps. And Gene Stevenson's old rule comes right back to get him.
I tell you what, that 90-second clock will cut down a lot on style time.
A liner right to third off DeAlexander, and Tarr is aboard at first base. Jamie may have been angered by that, the fact that he had to wait at the plate.
You get the feeling that DeAlexander loses this in the crowd. Sometimes on day games, if there's a white shirt in the background, you'll lose that ball for a second because that's right at him. Unless it knuckled or something, but that hit right off his right ankle.
Carl Hall, the right fielder, comes up for the Shockers. That's the second error committed by Arkansas. And to this juncture, they have not been hurt by the miscues. They only lead by 2, though they've out-hit the Shockers 7-1. Hall takes a strike, a fastball down the heart of the plate.
Gene Stevenson says that Hall was his single biggest surprise of the season. He played real well in fall ball and earned a spot in the starting lineup today as a freshman.
From Campus High School in Hayesville, Kansas, just a freshman. Boy, were it not for the freshmen, the Shockers would not be repeating as Missouri Valley Conference champions. The youngsters have come through. They knew they had an outstanding class, but for them to contribute the way they have so early, and Hall is a prime example, quite surprising. Stolen bases, 129 out of 158 attempts, and they're moving them more this year than last year. And obviously, they lost 195 RBIs. That has something to do with that. in the heart of their lineup a season ago.
And that's an amazing percentage, that graphic you just saw, over 81%, because you figure on a board of hit and runs, as we look at the graphic from last year and see the difference in the batting average, 26 points shorter this year. But you're going to miss 10%, 20%, maybe 25% just on hit and runs that backfire. And these guys are stealing at an 82% clip.
29 home runs are gone and 195 RBIs from their number 3 and 4 hitters of a season ago. 1-2 the count with Tarr at first. And that'll do it for Carl Hall. Good pitch from Bennett, who really has it going early on.
His third strikeout, outside corner, perfect location, a little movement, a little run away, and all Hall could hope to do was foul it off. He tipped it, but into Mirabelli's mitt, or into Gilmore's mitt.
Chris Wimmer, the left fielder, also has spent some time playing second base in the infield in his career, and again, a very young career it is, because he too only a freshman, a local product from Wichita, Kansas, and East High School.
And runs a 4.65, or I should say 6.45 60-yard dash. And they do that in baseball gear with a crossover step. That's flying.
Breaking ball, and Wimmer wanted all of it. Came up with none of it. 1-1 the count. Youngster was also a great quarterback here locally. Won some all-league honors. Helped his team to league titles in a couple of sports.
And talking about that speed, the measuring stick the clubs look for is anything under 7 seconds for the 60. And he's doing it nearly a half second quicker.
One out with Tarr aboard. And again, the heater comes in, and Wimmer can't get around on it. 1-2 the count.
Well, Bennett, he averages a strikeout an inning, and this is how you do it. Good high fastball, about letter high with some movement on it, a little upward movement, and some velocity.
A base hit just past first baseman Hayden Etheridge, and they'll hold Tarr at second, respecting the arm of Bubba Carpenter in right field. So Wichita State doing what Arkansas did early, hitting the opposite way and connecting, now with a threat here in the third.
And then after missing that fastball inside, this is a pretty good piece of hitting, because Bennett tries inside again, and just high enough. Carpenter comes up firing. It's wet in the outfield, and he has a gun. And Wichita State, not trying to chance anything, down by 2, trying to keep their rally alive, aren't going to take any risk.
Here is Jim Audley, reached on an error, 0 for 1. And he steps up now with runners at second and first. He represents the top of the order for the Shockers. Breaking ball, and he delivers it deep to right center field. Johnson has room and makes the catch, and quickly Tarr has to get back, and he doesn't. He's doubled off. A base running mistake by the Shockers, something that didn't happen to them in their national championship year a season ago. Nothing across for the Shockers. Epps, Thomas, and Houck due up for Arkansas when we come back to Wichita.
When the call comes in, it all has to come together within seconds. That takes total concentration. And when headache strikes, that takes concentration too. The concentrated power of Anacin. Anacin concentrates 23% more medicine in each tablet than regular aspirin or regular strength Tylenol. Then adds an extra ingredient. So Anacin relieves your headache pain better. Anacin, concentrated for powerful pain relief.
It'll start your day. Alarm, you'll be on your way. Bringing your day.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going.
There's no tougher race than the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So it's not surprising that the tire that won it was a Michelin.
I think the parents should be at fault as well as anybody else. I mean, to try to instill certain values to where that a kid should not go out and try to kill another kid for certain articles.
2-0 our score, and you see Thomas with plenty of room, and I really believe that Tarr lost count of how many outs there really were here, Billy.
Everybody does it, but certainly that's one of the things that a coach will not tolerate. Physical mistakes, you understand. Mental mistakes, as in checking the outs, especially when you're down by 2, trying to get something started, and you know Gene's not happy. And reportedly, Wichita State's been doing a lot of that this year, maybe some of it due to the inexperience, some young players learning how to play the game a little bit. Now there's another discussion between Norm DeBryan and umpire Tim Davis. I assume it revolves around getting in the box. We talked about the advantages of the 90-second clock.
This could be a disadvantage, a glaring disadvantage, if we have too many more of these conversations. You're right.
Just take that 34 minutes and put it somewhere else.
Norm is saying to himself now, I'm sure, why did I agree to this? Scott Epps not in the batter's box, and because of that, he's awarded a strike without having received a pitch. Now he sees ball 1, a breaking ball, and it's 1-1.
And between the pitcher being tardy and the hitter being tardy, the hitter's at a disadvantage because there are fewer strikes to strike out than there are balls to walk.
Ground ball, base hit. It won't matter now as Epps collects the 8th Arkansas hit of the day. This time they turn on Steenstra's fastball and pull it.
Inside, and Steenstra really doesn't have the velocity that we had heard. Right over the plate, running a little bit inside, but Epps turning on it, and he has his second hit this afternoon.
Tim Thomas takes a ball inside, 1-0. Hit into a double play. A run scored for Arkansas on that double play ball. Back in the second. That one's down in the dirt. 2-0 the count.
Steenstra's been good at keeping the ball down. I think he needs to come up from time to time, give the hitter something else to look in, because he's been so good with his control that I think he's actually a little too comfortable.
Pitching coach Brad Kimnich, so pleased with him, so happy with his play, and he almost couldn't tell us what he wanted to tell us yesterday. As you see, Arkansas 33-2 when leading after 3 innings. They have a good closer, and that's one of the reasons why, Bill Steedham. But I think the youngster may be pressing a bit. This is a big opportunity against a quality team. Yes, he's 9-0, but he's only a freshman. And when you're tense, maybe some of the velocity does leave you. And Kimnitz may be making his way out there right now. He is.
And maybe it's just time for him to take a loss. He's 9-0 pitching in his first collegiate season. And you know, Kimnitz didn't want to jinx Steenstra when he was talking to us yesterday, because he said up to this point, and Kimnitz kept saying up to this point, he has been so poised and so in control, but it seems to have ended today.
Morgan LeClaire is the right-hander, number 25, and Matt Chris, the other right-hander, number 36, both hitting up. Actually, Jeff Bluma, number 25, is the one to the left, as opposed to LeClaire.
And this is early for Bluma to be up. He's usually the setup man.
Steenstra obviously would like to hang in there a few more innings. The 3 pitches, the fastball, the change, and the slider, we've seen them all, and he has moved it around the zone. But you're right, nothing to keep the batters off balance. And that's been the problem spot. They're playing the bunt as Hulk squares, and he takes the ball. 1-0.
And you have to give Arkansas credit, though. They came in with a pretty good game plan. You could tell early that they were really working on going up the middle, going to the opposite field, not trying to do too much with the ball. They've accumulated a lot of singles, but they're ahead.
Scott Epps down at second. Tim Thomas at first base. Nobody out. Top half of the fourth inning. Arkansas already with a 2-0 lead over the defending national champion Wichita State Shockers. Houck a hit batter in his last time up. Fakes the bunt. The old slug bunt comes into play. Had the infielders coming in.
And it's easier to do. The Shockers had the wheel play on, which the third baseman comes in to field a bunt. The shortstop goes to third for the force. And Houck tried to cross him up.
Brian not opposed to putting his runners in motion in this situation with the left-hander up there. That one's inside, and the count is even at 2-2.
The wheel play, also called the rotation play. That time, Wichita State played it straight. Of course, with 2 strikes. Not a threat to bunt.
Critical pitch coming up this time. Some of the fans are giving Tim Davis some heat, but that ball obviously down in the dirt or near the dirt, and the count is now 3-2. This could be his last pitch. If he were to lose Houck here and load the bases, you got to believe they'd go to the bullpen. A base hit to left. Wimmer's coming and throwing. And Epps is in there. Arkansas leads it 3-0. The throw from Wimmer off the line just enough. Had it been there, they may have been able to come up with a put out at home plate.
The ball goes through the infield quickly, of course, on turf. Now it slows up a little bit, but Wimmer charging well. Has a one-hop throw to the plate, just a little bit offline to the left. Mirabelli makes a valiant attempt, but he just misses here, just behind the runner.
And it was a pivotal pitch for Steenstra as he is leaving the game, and Bluma is coming into the game. Jeff Bluma, and it is rare that you would see him in the fourth inning of a game. Will close the books on Steenstra as he, for now, has surrendered 3 runs. But there are a couple of runners aboard, and still much work left to be done for Wichita State. Arkansas by 3.
Busch Light presents.
All right, ready.
The difference between hard and easy. Drag racing is hard. New Busch Light is easy. Hula dancing is hard. New Busch Light is easy. So after a hard day, reach for the light beer that's cold filtered to make it the easiest drinking around. New Busch Light is easy. Testing office furniture is hard. So make the easy choice.
Hi.
Was I scared?
Well, what'd the doctor say?
He said my hemorrhoids aren't that serious.
Yeah?
That I don't need surgery.
That's great.
He said to eat right and exercise, and for flare-ups, use Preparation H.
It's terrific.
Yeah.
Thousands of doctors distribute this care guide. It advises a fiber-rich diet, exercise, and to help relieve hemorrhoidal symptoms, try Preparation H.
I feel so much better.
You think you feel better.
Preparation H in ointment and suppositories.
3-0 our score. We're in the top half of the fourth inning. Arkansas pushing across single runs in the first, the second, and again here in the fourth, but still 2 men aboard and no one out. And Jeff Bluma has come back into the game. His numbers 3-0, an ERA of just over 3. He has 6 saves this year. He has not been in a middle or long relief role in some time.
And that's why we said we were surprised, because he's usually the setup man for Jeff Williams and has, as you saw there, 6 saves himself. Fastball, curveball, and a palm ball as an off-speed pitch.
Coming up after our game, it's Seniors Golf. This week's stop on the PGA Tour, the Seniors Tour, Oklahoma City, the Southwestern Bell Classic. Charlie Owens, our leader. Jim Kelly and crew are standing. Begins at 5:30 Eastern Time. And that will be followed by Sports Center with Robin Roberts and Tom Mees. They'll bring you up to date on everything happening on your Sports Saturday. Bluma's first pitch is a strike. Mark Johnson 1 for 2 this afternoon.
Johnson, the number 2 hitter. And Tarr really charging off first base, looking for the bunt, trying to put 2 more runners in scoring situation.
Infield definitely coming in. Mears is also cheating a bit, coming off of the dirt and onto the turf. And quickly off the bag is Tar. Already you can see there. Pickoff is on, not in time, as Thomas gets back to second base.
Pitching coach Brent Kimnett said that they are not afraid to throw to any base. They work on it all the time. We've seen quite a few pickoffs in college baseball.
That includes Mirabelli behind the plate. 1-1 the count. Thomas at second, Halk at first. That's a strike on the outside corner at the knees. 1-2 the count. Mark Johnson helped his Oak Park High School team in Gladstone, Missouri to the state title in '87. That same year, his Babe Ruth Summer League team won the national championship. Pitch. Strike 3 call, and a delayed call indeed from Tim Davis.
It sounded like somebody from the stands called him.
They did. Now look at this pause before the call comes.
Well, he has been late with his calls. I guess he's saying strike to Johnson, and it just takes him a while to give that punch.
1 down and a big strikeout for Bluma. That pitch misses outside. 1-0 to Kirk Pisker. Tim Davis did not go to the Auga Donatelli School of Quickness behind the plate. Pisker 2 for 2 today. Boy, he and DeAlexander have lived up to the advanced billing. In the heart of this Arkansas order, the number 3 and 4 hitters respectively. Rounder right back up the box. Thomas will come around to score. Halk is held at second, and Arkansas has 4 across. 2 of them in this inning.
Some fine hitting by Pisker. They're playing him away, and he's going away. He's just hitting the ball where it's pitched, not getting it up in the air. Pretty good pitch up the middle. The outfield's playing him away, the infield straight up, and he has his 3rd hit on the afternoon. 10 hits already, and we're just in the 4th.
Greg DeAlexander, who has also been tough. Between the 3 and 4 hitters, already 5 hits. 5 of the 10 that Arkansas has belongs to the 3 and 4 hitters, Pisker and DeAlexander. Halk at second, Pisker at first. 1 down. Top half of the 4th inning, and Arkansas already with 4 runs across. That one right to Lansing, should be 2. The pivot in time. Nice work by Jamie Tarr, setting up on the corner of the bag as the throw from Forbes was wide. Arkansas leads it 4-0 with 2 more here in the middle of the 4th. Nice work turning this double play. Score it 6-4. And a nice play from 3 at the bag.
Speed. Rico Copier Speed. Rico's revolutionary menu reader does the job with 1 button. Fast. Power. Rico Copier Power. Built to work to get the job done fast. Rico, where imagination becomes reality. To find the Rico office nearest you, dial 1-800-63-RICO.
Let's all have a feel-good night. Know a little sizzle and feel alright. You get a steak and we'll have a bite. Have a real good, feel-good, real food night. A burger on a bun would be some fun. You really ought to go out and get you some. Get me near a steak and I'll tell you I'm ready for a real good, feel-good time. A real good, feel-good, real food time.
Beef, real food for real people.
Life is you can't wear a mini skirt. You know why? Thunder thighs! everything sags. You should see the guys you hang out with. Forget about eating anything that tastes good.
Who says you have to give up the things you like? Give up something you won't miss, like a little oil. Ruffles Light, Cheetos Light, Doritos Light. Never give up the taste.
Sunday night, the hard-charging Pirates are on a roll.
He leaps, he makes the catch.
They battle the Astros on Sunday Night Baseball, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Baseball tonight. Bottom half of the fourth inning about to get underway here in Wichita, Arkansas with a 4-0 lead. And there's Kennie Steenstra coming in today, 9-0. And in just over 3 innings work, he surrenders 9 hits today. No strikeouts, 1 walk, and a very difficult day for a youngster that has a high school all-time record of 65 wins. That's a national record, and today he may get his first collegiate log.
Well, as you move up, the competition is going to be tougher, but of course he has had a lot of success this year. Maybe it was just his time not to do well.
P.J. Forbes got that one up in the strike zone, and he lifts it to DeAlexander at third. And there's 1 away. Gene Stevenson would be the first to tell you that if Steenstra was to have a bad outing, he'd rather have it here than in the Missouri Valley Conference or the NCAA tournament, which begins pretty soon.
And more so in the tournament than in the conference, because you get the feeling Wichita State will get an at-large bid even if they don't win the conference tournament.
Here is Mike Lansing. Breaking ball. Took something off of it as well, did Doug Bennett. While we talk about Steenstra's problems, Bennett moving right along. Having given up only 2 hits in 3 1/3 innings work.
I don't know if it's a mandatory rule, but I'm glad to see that Steenstra stays out in the dugout cheering on his team. Of course, he may need to go in and keep that arm warm or pack it in ice, but he was still out there hoping his teammates score about 4 runs so he can spit that hook.
Base running mistake by Wichita State in the 3rd may have cost them a rally. They had a chance to touch up Bennett, did not take advantage. The 1-2 pitch. Chopped to second. Thomas over to Etheridge, and there are 2 down.
And you get the feeling that Bennett is cruising, not throwing a lot of pitches, making them hit the ball, mixing in a strikeout here or there.
Pat Mears, a strikeout victim his first time. Pretty good crowd on hand here at X Stadium in Wichita, Kansas. You could make a case that this is really a unique city for baseball by virtue of its stadiums. I'll explain after this pitch. Lawrence Prudhomme Field, which is the home of the Wranglers, the AA franchise of the Padres, has turf on the infield, grass on the outfield. Outside of Boardwalk and baseball, I can't recall any other college stadiums that are set up that way. Old Comiskey Park, who will be out of business next year in the big leagues at one time, had grass on the outfield and turf on the infield. But here in Wichita, 2 stadiums that are set up this way. Don't adjust your sets on those wide shots you see. Almost like the difference between Bermuda and bent grass in golf when you look at those wide shots of the infield and the outfield. 2-1 the count to Mears.
I still like it when they paint the regular grass.
Fly ball into center field, pretty deep, but Johnson back at the warning track calls it in, and that'll do it for Wichita. The best hit of the day by Mears, but nothing across. 3 up, 3 down. The heart of the hog order coming up.
When shopping for a pre-owned car, remember these fine St. Louis street dealers. Lipscomb Motor Company, specializing in quality late models, all with warranties and financing available. Springfield Auto Sales, one of the largest selections of pre-owned Lincolns in town, plus other models to choose from. May Distributing Company, featuring only the finest cars and trucks, all makes, models, and price ranges. And credit car sales, offering easy on-the-spot financing as low as $25 a week on quality cars. 4 great options for buying your next...
Everybody knows an elephant never forgets, and neither do Sharon, Lois, Bram, or Nick Jr. We know how much you like The Elephant Show, and so we're bringing you more of the stuff you like. There's a whole trunk full of songs and adventures, and all of your friends will be there too.
Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight?
So settle in and watch Sharon, Lois, and Bram's Elephant Show on Nick Jr.
4-0 our score as we move to the top half of the fifth inning. Tim Brando, Billy Sample, happy to have you with us. Brian Winslow, a starter a season ago, played, in fact, in the College World Series on what, in effect, was a broken leg, is in the game at first base, replacing Jamie Tarr.
And you wonder whether Coach Stevenson was just a little bit upset at Tarr and that base running mistake that took him out of what could have been a bigger inning.
Bubba Carpenter leads off the Arkansas fifth, hitting in the fifth position for Norm DeBryan today. Took something off that one, did Bluma. Carpenter way out in front. 1-1 the count.
That was either the palm ball or the split finger. It really goes down. And they've been pitching Carpenter away, and he's been diving out there. Then they give him something inside. He thinks it's a fastball, and it's an off-speed pitch.
The palm ball becoming a very popular pitch at the collegiate level. Last year, you'll recall, Florida State's Chad Keller, who pitched against Wichita State in the College World Series, exclusively went with the palm ball for his out pitch. And again, good work by the Arkansas hitters, waiting and being patient at the plate, and Carpenter serves a single to center to start the inning.
Carpenter has an outside chance of getting drafted this June. This is just a pretty piece of hitting. Pitch moving away from him, outside part of the plate. Pulled, but his hands are back enough, and he's strong enough to drive it through the infield.
This has been consistent with Arkansas teams of past years, Billy. I mean, they don't overpower you, but they are fundamentally sound offensively and defensively. And Etheridge gets that one past the wicket of Mike Lansing. 2 singles to center to start the fifth for Arkansas. And more activity for Wichita State to think about from a pitching standpoint. Suddenly, Steenstra doesn't appear to be as much the problem as he once did.
Nice effort by Lansing. He's had a couple of plays in which he just missed. And we talked about earlier how he's been plagued by a sore hamstring. He injured that last week, so that might take away a little from his effectiveness.
Chop from Gilmore, should be 2. Handled nicely by P.J. Forbes. So Arkansas, now with Carpenter down at third base, have 2 down. Steenstra leaving the game after 3, Bluma in the game, but these 2 singles that we've seen from Arkansas look remarkably similar to what Steenstra had to deal with from Arkansas. We're not looking at power alley power from Arkansas in any of their hits.
No, they're doing just what the pitcher will allow them to do with the particular pitch and location. They're going with the pitch, not trying to pull off of it, not trying to drive it except where it is pitched.
Scott Epps lifts that one into right field, foul. Carl Hall giving chase. And the count is 1-1 with 2 down.
And were it not for 3 double plays, this game could be even a bigger deficit. That is for the Shockers.
Epps spent some time, Scott Epps, the Arkansas batter in the Cape Cod League last year. Again, fouled the first base side. Also played in the Oklahoma-California All-Star game. What an honor that must have been for the Jinx Oklahoma native, and was the most valuable player in that game. 2 states that, along with perhaps the state of Florida, bring out a great deal of talent to baseball year in and year out. And a base hit from Epps and an RBI as Bubba Carpenter comes in to score, and it's 5-0 Arkansas. Just reach out and touch him, and Arkansas is doing it.
Outside part of the plate. Bluma hits it, actually out of the strike zone. Just a good piece of hitting by Epps. That's his third hit this afternoon, his first RBI.
Tim Thomas, the second baseman, takes an off-speed pitch inside, 1-0. 5 runs on 13 hits for Arkansas. 2 of those infield hits, and none of them for extra base hits. 2-0 the count. Thomas reached on a walk and scored. Epps with only a modest lead.
And you know, hitting instructor Doug Clark has to be feeling very good about the way the Arkansas batters have handled Wichita's pitching. Started early and just keep the pressure on. They've had a hit in every inning.
2-2 the count. It would be fair to say, as you look at the Arkansas Pine, 36-2 when out hitting their opponents, it would be fair to say that D. Alexander and Pisker have had the most solid shots of those singles, getting around on both Bluma and Steenstra. But for the most part, we've seen a number of punch and Judy singles from the remainder of the Arkansas roster.
Well, the punch and Judy that we've seen so far this afternoon is just good hitting.
Check swing foul. The count is run to full. It's 3-2 with 2 down.
Sometimes you punch and Judy and you get jammed and you hit it off the end of the bat, but these guys are really following the pitch, waiting as late as they can, going to the opposite field if the pitch is on the outside part of the plate. It's just been a clinic.
Bluma wanted that pitch up high a bit in the strike zone, and as we mentioned earlier, Tim Davis, the home plate umpire, his zone has been down in the strike zone. Runners now at second and first, and the top of the order, Jeff Houck coming up, and you see Gene Stevenson barking a little bit in the Shocker dugout.
Maybe Thomas's reputation preceded him. He leads the Razorbacks in walks.
Houck takes a strike. Norm DeBryan has said on many an occasion that Thomas, who hit in the second hole last year, works the count so well it's almost like having an extra leadoff man before Houck. You can certainly understand why Houck is a leadoff man with his quickness, his ability to steal bases. And he does have some surprising pop. 2 home runs this year for a youngster only 5'2", 135 pounds.
And that helps because you have to bring it down to that small strike zone, and you have some pop and you have some speed, which he does, then you're not only hitting singles, but you can shoot it through the outfield and have some doubles and triples.
Both of those home runs, we should mention, were inside the park home runs. But why should he have to pay a penalty for speed? He got them into the power alleys, and he hit them deep and surprised the outfielders because they were playing in. So he should be given credit for true home runs. And he walks, and now the bases are jammed with 2 down, and pitching coach Brett Chemnitz will again come out and talk with Bluma. This is an interesting spot, and I know that Bluma is unaccustomed to being in the middle inning relief mode, but with the score 5-0, he has to approach this game as though we were in the 7th or 8th.
I think the feeling was by Coach Stevenson is that Wichita State, they weren't going to get a lot of runs off Bennett, so he had to bring in a guy who usually closes or sets up in the game earlier to keep the game as close as possible. But it hasn't worked. Chemnitz trying to tell him, let it go. Throw that fastball. It really appears that the Shockers really hadn't turned the ball loose. Maybe they're losing just a little bit off their fastball. But we haven't seen the good one, though Bluma doesn't have the fastball that Steenstra has. But he's a good, solid pitcher, a senior, around the plate. And that's why I guess it's surprising that he has walked the last 2 batters.
It is cooling off here in Wichita, but that's good news. Last night they had severe weather in here. Tornado watch and warnings were in effect. As a matter of fact, Wichita State was scheduled to play a game against a local school that had already completed its season. That game was called off. Arkansas has had final exams. They have not practiced this week and have not played since last weekend's series against Texas A&M. There's the third to first pickoff attempt, and they nearly nailed Jeff Houck at first base. Now, you watch this, and I know it's easy to say you've never seen it work, but when it does work, it's when Wichita State pulls the pick.
And this is very close. Really good motion. Bloom at a third, then back. Winslow was behind Houck and snuck in behind him, and they made a very close play at first base.
Johnson lifts this one into shallow center. Audley was fooled, but he has time to recover and makes the grab. Arkansas comes up with yet another run here in the fifth. They have 13 hits in all and lead it 5-0.
Santa Fe. For centuries, men have been mysteriously drawn to it. Santa Fe cologne for men. Discover the mystery of its attraction.
Looks like I've got a new teacher. Miss Cassman?
Miss Cassman. Amy, I hear your new teacher's real mean.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. New teachers have to be tough. They're scared of them.
Did you bring your pictures?
Yeah!
Amy, would you come up here and bring your picture with you, please?
You better check on Miss Cassman.
There's a special power that can bring students and teachers closer together. The power to be your best.
Whoa, that's cool. Hey, how's your new teacher? Oh, she's okay.
This season, when you buy Roundup Grass and Weed Killer, you can save up to $120 on American Airlines tickets. Let Roundup get rid of your weeds while you take off with American. Nothing kills weeds better than Roundup.
Blustery day in Wichita and a difficult day for their home-standing Shockers. Arkansas, with 13 hits, have 5 runs to lead the defending national champions 5-0 as we move to the bottom half of the fifth. Along with Billy Sample, I'm Tim Brando. Here's Doug Mirabelli. 0 for 1, a ground-out victim his first time. The Shocker catcher takes a ball, 1-0. Doug Bennett really in the groove. Outside of a near threat that ended after a base-running mistake by Jamie Tarr in the third, he's been almost untouchable.
Has given up only 2 hits, has been smooth. Fastball working, has spotted it well. Curveball has kept some of those right-handed hitters honest. And he must have some velocity because on that pitch high in the strike zone, they're really not getting through it. They're popping that pitch up, not getting the hands through the strike zone. Probably a little tough for them to pick it up this time of day, a little cloudy. But he's really getting on the hitters quickly with that high heat.
We have not seen him pitching from behind in the count most of this day, but now Mirabelli, who has hit in consecutive games, 8 to be exact, is up on the count, 3-1 to Bennett. And he's aboard as Bennett gives up the walk.
That's Bennett's first walk. And he's probably wondering why that pitch wasn't a strike because it appeared earlier in the game that he was getting that outside corner.
Scott McLuhan, the designated hitter today, strikeout victim, looked at a called third strike his first time. Stands in with a man aboard. This is a very critical time in any game for the Arkansas pitching staff. That ball is grounded to Etheridge. It should be a double play, but it is not. Bennett did not get over in time. A difficult double play of the 3-6-1 variety, but Bennett did not get over.
Well, you're right, Tim. The 3-6-1, probably the toughest of all double plays. Etheridge to Epps. And you're right, he just didn't get off the mound quick enough to find the bag. He actually beat McLuhan to the bag, but he wasn't there, he wasn't set.
A foot not set, and that's the reason. And he's a bit embarrassed, I'm sure, because any pitcher wants to make that. You practice that during the spring, during the fall, and it may have been just a tenth of a second that cost him the put-out.
And Arkansas will work on defensive drills a full half hour during each practice.
Bryant Winslow with his first at-bat in the game for Jamie Tarr, whom we mentioned earlier was involved in that base running mistake in the third inning. Gene Stevenson was upset. Winslow obviously platooning throughout most of this year with Tarr, comes into the game. Bennett comes inside to Winslow, and the count is 2-0. Vastly underrated player in the past, but again, injury difficulties have cropped up. A stress fracture which caused him to limp noticeably. There's a drive into right center field. Johnson can't get to it. It's off the wall. Stevenson is waving McLuhan, and he scores. A double for Winslow. He's 1 for 1, and the Shockers trail 5-1.
He got a fastball out over the plate and drove it to right center. And Bennett has nobody to blame for this run but himself for failing to get to first base, as Johnson has trouble picking up the ball. And the Shockers are on the scoreboard.
And I mentioned this is a critical time in any game for the Arkansas pitching staff. The reason is this: they still do not have a setup man or a long reliever. And that means both Bennett and or Swope, who is their other starter, are usually counted upon to come through with at least 7 good innings. And that will set up Phil Steedham, their sidearm stopper.
Well, what's going to have to happen, Tim? Either Brian Cook or Danny Brown or Gary Harris are going to have to emerge to be that 3rd or 4th or 5th starter, especially during tournament time.
Carl Hall at the plate. And Bennett again down on the count. It is 1-1 this time to Carl Hall. 5-1 our score. Wichita State with only their 3rd hit, that being the double and the RBI for Bryant Winslow.
Tim, you made a good point. This is the first time Bennett has had to pitch behind the count.
That breaking ball down low, and it's 2-1.
Not quite as sharp, not getting that first pitch fastball over.
Norm DeBryan already thinking perhaps about adjustments that could be made. And perhaps thinking about that bullpen that right now is inactive. They took the error from Johnson away and did give Winslow the double. So there's the reason we show you the line score again. And the RBI does belong to Winslow. Fastball drilled to left for a base hit by Hall. Jeff Howe quickly gets it back in. Runners at 3rd and 1st with 1 out. As Hall gets his first single of the game.
And Winslow had to wait to see the ball go through the left side of the infield, and certainly down by 4. You're not going to take any chances. John Litke coming out to the mound, the Razorback pitching coach.
The option that Litke might have, along with Brown and Cook, is to just give his man some time to settle down. And for now, it appears that that is the feeling in the Arkansas dugout, because Bennett has shown good velocity, but this inning and this inning only, he's been pitching from behind in the count.
And sometimes you want to go out there to break the momentum, just to give him a second or two to collect his thoughts, and maybe he can find the strike zone again. Wimmer having a conversation with Coach Stevenson.
Score is 5-1. Wichita State, as we mentioned, a club that has started more runners this year than in past years, but they're down 4 runs. And against a guy like Bennett, who is falling behind in the count, I'd be surprised if they got too fancy on the base pads, wouldn't you?
And Wimmer, their fastest runner, tough to double up.
Winslow down at third. He has the RBI, and Hall with the second single of the inning. 2 of Wichita State's 4 hits coming here in the bottom of the 5th. The 1-0. Bennett not missing by much, but missing. And it's 2-0.
And now as the count goes to Wichita State's favor, they could send the runners.
Carl Hall, 5 out of 8 in the stolen base category, down at first. That's a strike on the inside corner. 2-1 the count.
If the count runs to 3-1, we'll see what Gene Stevenson does. One of those means something if there's some action, and all of the others are decoys.
Thinking about the pick that we've seen so often.
Not a bad idea. But I guess Wichita State does it so much that they don't fall into the same trap when they're on offense.
Swinging foul tip strike. 2-2. Yeah, I would say Wichita State practices that pickoff attempt right after fungos at every practice. Dan Brown to your right. Rob Dodd, number 30, to your left, the left-hander, as the Arkansas bullpen heats up. 2-2 with 1 out and 2 on in the 5th. Grounder to second. Could be 2. Thomas not in time to first. They could not make the throw. And Winslow scores. Would have been a tough chance, but nice work by Hall breaking up Scott Epps, who was trying to make the pivot at shortstop for that throw. 5-2, our score.
Well, you get the feeling that Arkansas might just take the out for a run. Now in college baseball, as we mentioned earlier, you have to slide right at the bag. And because Epps was coming across the bag, that was a pretty good play.
Jim Audley, the leadoff man for Wichita State, comes up with 2 down, 2 across, and they start the runner. The throw to the left side of the bag. And Wimmer is in safely with a stolen base.
Wimmer has stolen 30 out of 33 attempts. So Gilmore is not necessarily going to intimidate him. We told you earlier, he has 6.45 speed in the 60, and that's why he's stealing over a 92% clip.
It's rare that you'd see Gilmore miss on a pitch-out opportunity. That time, had that pitch or that throw by Gilmore been to the right side of the bag at second, he would have nailed Wimmer. The throw was in time, but he just launched it to the wrong side of the bag.
And sometimes speed will intimidate you into releasing the ball just a little quicker than if you had a split second more and could settle it.
Jim Audley steps out. Again, a reminder that 20-second clock between pitches that's utilized as you look at the line on Doug Bennett today. Giving up 2 runs. Not utilize that clock when runners are aboard. Only when the bases are empty. Gilmore is going to go out and speak with Bennett now.
The pitchers in the bullpen should have to be ready, so that was a strategy session. Maybe changing the signs as Wimmer's on second base. Possibly he could relay them to the hitter.
Dan Brown and Rob Dodd again, both heating up in the Arkansas bullpen. Wimmer at second. Breaking ball. Took something off of it for a strike. pretty good pitch from Bennett.
He had abandoned that breaking ball for a while, now going back to it as he was having trouble controlling the fastball.
2-2. Wimmer at second with 2 down. Just missed the outside corner, and Bennett was really leaning towards the dugout there.
Yeah, as soon as he released it, he was walking. He knew that was on the outside corner.
Good eye, Jim. Good eye.
And Gilmore frames it well.
3-2. Breaking ball popped up. Should be handled by Etheridge, the first baseman. And that does it. But the Shockers push across a couple of runs. Credit Bryant Winslow with getting the big hit to start things. Through 5, Arkansas by 3.
A little brains, a little luck, and a lot of late nights. A good family, a good spot, and some good advice. That's the way it's supposed to be. And USF and G standing behind me. That's the way it's supposed to be. And USF and G standing behind me.
There are those who thirst for something different, an escape from the ordinary. For them, there is a beer that refreshes like no other. Michelob Dry. Once you've experienced its bold taste with no aftertaste, there's no going back.
When I played football, I crunched quarterbacks. But now I crunch these, JB's Pigskins. The new pork rinds.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going.
Master locks are tough under fire.
We move to the top half of the 7th inning. Arkansas leading Wichita State 5-2. Along with Billy Sample, a man that spent a great deal of time with the Texas Rangers, later the Yankees, and then Braves. I'm Tim Brando, and they're braving the weather out here today. The outfield lounges you see, it's pretty cool out there.
And I want to tell you, I resent the fact that you told me that your father used to drive you up to Arlington Stadium to watch me play when you were growing up.
That's right. Etheridge 1 for 3 today. That's a pretty good organization these days. It's changed throughout the years in Arlington.
Tom Grieve has really turned that place around.
There's a shot right to second, and P.J. Forbes will handle it easily. Well hit ball, though, by Hayden Etheridge. 1 away. The times they are a-changing, and you see college baseball becoming much more prominent. The talent coming out, getting a chance to go right from college to AA. And you see organizations that at one time did not claim fantastic farm systems suddenly building from within. And you're beginning to see that more and more with the Rangers. Gilmore lifts that one into right field, and Carl Hall makes the grab. 2 pitches, 2 quick outs for Jeff Bluma.
And quietly, Bluma has pitched well. Ran into a little trouble in the 4th. But this is his 4th inning, and he's not normally in this particular situation. But he came in to hold the Razorbacks as well as he could, and he's held them within 3. This man has had a tremendous day today.
Scott Epps bunting for the base hit this time. They'll let it roll foul.
Not a bad play. First pitch. And he bunted it close to the line. He didn't get to roll, but sometimes that will roll and stay straight. And if you already have 3 hits, you might as well go ahead and drop down and get your 4th.
Would be very good news, you'd think, for Wichita State if they were to lose this game. If you were to look for a silver lining, that Bluma could be effective for 4 or 5 innings plus. Give them a whole different thought process going into the postseason tournament next week and on into the NCAAs.
Because he may have to start at some point.
More so in the conference tournaments, Billy, than in the College World Series. And in regionals, do you need that third and fourth starter? A one hopper to Lansing. 5 pitches, 3 outs. Nothing doing for the Hogs. Due up Mirabelli, McLuhan, and Winslow for Wichita State as we head to the 7th inning stretch.
Busch Light presents the difference between hard and easy. Doing the wave is hard. New Busch Light is easy. Testing lip balm is hard. New Busch Light is easy. So after a hard day supporting your family, reach for the light beer that's cold filtered to make it the easiest drinking around. New Busch Light is easy. Forgetting that darn garage door opener is hard. So make the easy choice.
To understand Asia, you have to understand its customs, its mystery, its people. You have to know what makes a good impression and what offends. For over 40 years, we've been learning about Asia. So in addition to our convenient schedules, we can give you something no other U.S. airline can. After 40 years of helping people do business in Asia.
Live, high-speed excitement that drives fans wild. It's the Indy 500 time trials where only speed will make the difference. The thrills of Indy tomorrow afternoon, live on ESPN.
In typical form during the 7th inning stretch, Billy Sample and yours truly, Tim Brando, prefer to sit. Good to have you with us for the first time.
That's quick. I didn't think about that. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Let's talk about your collegiate career at the Dukes and James Madison. You spent some time, look at that.
Where did they get this picture?
Hitting .388 from 1974 to 76. And
I met my wife with that face, too.
You're also the career leader in stolen base, the all-time leader in stolen bases at James Madison. Of course, I recall you had 44 one season in the big leagues.
And that was before I knew how to run. But it was fun.
Doug Mirabelli takes a strike as we open the bottom half of the 7th inning. Mirabelli 0 for 1 today.
And, Tim, I'm old enough to have played high school ball with a wooden bat. Mirabelli takes inside. The count evens at 1.
The closest thing to aluminum would have probably been bamboo during that era.
Well, it just came. When I started college, the aluminum bat. Then my concern was after I was drafted and signed after my junior year, what it would be like to go back to wood. And you see there, it doesn't look too good for the Shockers.
That shows they lack punch offensively. They've lost those 195 RBIs and the number 3 and 4 hitters in their lineup from a season ago.
They don't have anybody with serious home run power, as Bennett really runs a fastball inside on Mirabelli, trying to set up that curveball outside. You almost, when you're down by 3, would rather get hit if it doesn't hurt you or break anything with a pitch like that, but it hit the end of his. Actually, he's flexing his right hand a little bit as if it might have gotten a piece of his hand near the palm.
1-2 the count. That ball's up in the zone. 2-2. But you mentioned the different bats and the fact that you were looking for a lighter bat. And I know I used them. And
you were a power hitting first baseman?
Would have broken far less bats had I had the aluminum, the old Easton aluminum bat to swing.
Well, that's the difference. I think everybody should hit with a wooden bat. Fouled off down the right field line, just so you can feel the embarrassment of having the bat break in your hand. Some pitcher running that good fastball in on your hands, because that's going to happen for a lot of these kids. And you realize that aluminum bats came in the mid-70s. Yeah. There's a group of kids were 5 years or younger that may never have used wooden bats, and they're going to have a big transition if they sign and play professional ball.
2-2 the count. And you can tell our cameramen are wrapped up, taking it easy, and I'm sure right behind them, Wichita State's collegiate golf establishment is nestled closely by. From time to time during the breaks, they've been getting 9-iron shots, our camera guys. A good group. There they are. No, that's not Oklahoma City, where we'll be going to Jim Kelly later. That's next door. The Southwestern Bell Classic, the Senior PGA Tour, coming up immediately following.
Oh, that's what
this
you're supposed to do
game.
when you have a 7-foot shot.
And Mirabelli goes down on strikes.
Earlier, he came inside off the plate at the hands with a fastball to set up this pitch. Pretty good downward motion on that curveball by Bennett.
Here is Scott McLuhan. And McLuhan, a great prospect. I mean, you look at this kid and you know of his background. We touched on the fact that Kent McLuhan's his dad and his brother Dave played with Colorado. This is a youngster that opted for baseball early on in his development. Very intense, much like his family tree. And he does possess all that it takes to be a great prospect in the years that follow. But now he's just in the learning stages at this level, only a freshman.
Well, to accentuate what you say, he was a 10th round draft pick of the Mets last year, so he definitely was the prospect. He had potential major league something, and that's why the Mets drafted him.
So Bennett again behind in the count, loses McLuhan. 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Wichita State trailing by 3, and now Bennett must face Bryant Winslow, who without question has the biggest hit of this afternoon for the Shockers. A double and an RBI. Back in the 5th.
Only the second walk by Bennett, but the last inning in which he walked a batter, the Shockers scored their 2 runs.
Seems to be going more with the off-speed breaking stuff early in the count, and now they're going to come out and talk with him again.
Well, this time he's not getting the curveball over. He had abandoned the curveball for 2 innings, got back to it after he had a rough 5th, and now he can't get the curveball over. So maybe Lecky's trying to give the bullpen some time to get warm, although there isn't any movement at this point.
And again, we remind you that only last week did he throw his first 9-inning game as a collegiate. Prior to that game against Texas A&M, he had only gone 7 innings, and that's where we are. Pretty good lead from McLuhan. Same pitch, same result. Breaking ball that he can't get down.
And you have to give Wichita some credit. Now the Razorback bullpen starts to stir. They have stayed just close enough. And there's their ace.
They'd rather not bring him in this inning, though. Saw it off into right. And Winslow is 2 for 2, and McLuhan is chugging for 3rd, and Stevenson will hold him up. Bryant Winslow with his 2nd double of the game. Would have shattered the bat. He sawed off some aluminum here, Billy.
Well, he better take this hit, because if he signs, he's not going to get it in the pros. But he hit the ball where it was pitched, even though it ran in on him.
You know, actually, I think he got some of the bat head on that. Sort of an inside-out swing. I thought at first it may have been up around the fist, but he had a pretty quick, compact swing, and with that light bat head, he was able to get around on it.
You're right. Good point, Tim. Originally, I thought he didn't get much of it, but he brought his hands in, and that effectively gave him that inside-out swing.
And to those proponents of the aluminum bat, they say that helps you in developing the quick hit. Hall lifts it into right field. Carpenter will gather it. McLuhan will tag and score, and it's 5-3. We mentioned back in the 5th that this was a critical time in any game for the Arkansas pitching staff. This may be the most critical time of all, because now with Winslow at 3rd, Wimmer at the plate representing the tying run, Steedham is up in the Arkansas bullpen, but they don't want Steedham to come into the game. They do not want Bill Stidham to come into the game until the 8th, if at all possible. Wimmer takes the ball up around the letters.
Well, that makes this batter a very important one, and that run, Winslow, a very important runner.
If Bennett were to get through 7 innings and give up 3 earned runs on 6 hits, Norm DeBryan would be extremely happy. But he has some work left to be done.
Well, he'd be happy for the short term. Not a bad idea. But D. Alexander had thought of, along with Wimmer, 2 pitches earlier, D. Alexander was back further, and then he moved in about 3 steps about the same time that Wimmer had realized that D. Alexander had been playing him back at third. Now he has 2 strikes, and D. Alexander can move back.
Winslow's got a bad wheel. It'll take a lot for him to get in on a pass ball or wild pitch. Nice block by Gilmore. They asked if Wimmer went around. He did not. The appeal to first base umpire Keith Jackson. And he said, "Whoa, Nelly,
Well, that was a pretty good call by Jackson, because sometimes when that home plate umpire jumps out at you aggressively and asks that first base umpire to check the call, it automatically signals to the first base umpire that the home plate umpire thought it might have been a strike.
The 2-2 is fouled off. Wichita State's bullpen heating up. Their stopper, Jeff Williams, who has been very successful this year with a 1.67 ERA. He would follow Bluma, it would appear. 2-2 with 2 out and a runner at third.
Just missed inside.
Bennett could be facing his last batter and could be making his last pitch. Should Wimmer get on and the winning or potential winning run come to the plate in the top of the order in Jim Audley. Smashed down the line, foul. Boy, how many well-hit balls to the opposite side we've seen today by both teams.
Their hitters wait real well. They don't get out on their front foot too much. They keep their weight back. They don't get through the ball sometimes as well, but they seem to be finding the areas to get a base hit or two.
And the fat part of the plate, it's lifted to left center. Houck is over to make the catch. And Bennett and DeBryan, his head coach, will breathe a sigh of relief. Arkansas still leads it 5-3. We're through 7 in Wichita.
Hi, friends of John Youngblood's. We've got a seal the deal. The prices are low and the payments are even better. A 1989 Nissan 4x4, only $178 a month. A 1990 Nissan Sentra, $158 a month. Remember, our service hours have been extended and our coffee's always on. What a place!
Springfield Chrysler Plymouth BMW Nissan, 3505 South Campbell, Springfield.
Smoked barbecue. Where can you get that smoked-in flavor with Ozark Hickory smoked sauce plus seafood or food bar with catfish, ribs, fried chicken, and more? Only at Tiny Smokehouse Barbecue. And now enjoy our food bar, seafood special with crab and sea legs, fried and spiced shrimp for only $9.95, or select from the menu one of our luncheon specials starting at $3.50. Smoked-in flavor on the #1 barbecue in town, Tiny Smokehouse Barbecue. Visit our new location opening soon at 330 East Battlefield.
Look out, college baseball fans. This is Wichita State's answer to the wild thing coming from the bullpen. Jeff Williams, 3-1. You see the 10 saves. More importantly, that ERA, 1.67, and he does bring some heat.
He averages nearly a strikeout an inning. As you see there, 28 strikeouts, 32 in the third innings. I wonder if the wild thing comes from the fact that he's a Williams, as is Mitch Williams. But he gets the ball up there in a hurry, just like the major league counterpart. And there are not a lot of secrets. He's going to try to bust you hard with the fastball.
8th in the nation in saves is Jeff Williams. Suffered through an up-and-down year back in '88, but was used primarily in middle relief and in hold situations his sophomore year. With the loss of Jim Newland, who was the relief ace of a season ago, someone had to come to the forefront, and it was Jeff Williams for the Shockers.
They also lost Brummett and Cedeno from last year's talented crop of pitchers.
Brummett obviously meant so much to them. Cedeno starting a critical game to set them up for the College World Series championship game when they beat Florida State. Here is Mark Johnson. Thomas down at third. One out in the 8th. Ball 1 to Mark Johnson. This is a youngster that's very hot at the plate right now. Again, an inside-out swing into shallow left. Lansing can't get back. It's a single. Thomas comes in, and moving down to second is Johnson. Well, you talk about taking advantage of the alignment. And again, good hitting because he did all he could do with that pitch. Mark Johnson, when you're hot, you get these kinds of hits.
I guess because the ball stayed in the air a long time. Left fielder Wimmer, with the best speed on the team, can't catch up to it. And he's got to play at the plate, because Thomas had to wait to see if the ball would be caught in a sacrifice fly situation. But just before it hit the ground, he realized that he could take off, and he did, and he beat the throw to the plate.
A much-needed run for Arkansas. Anytime you're up by 2, you'd like 3, and obviously to have a 4-run lead going into the final 2 innings with Stidham still down in that bullpen, it would mean a great deal. And now they're checking Mark Johnson, who might have pulled up lame as he chugged for second off that throw to home plate as Wichita State tried to nail Tim Thomas coming in. The alignment defensively on Johnson was pretty deep and straight away, and you can understand that because he can muscle up on a pitch and take them deep.
Well, one of the things for an off-fielder to do, as we watch Johnson go in again, the ball hits him on the ankle. Okay, and it kicks to the left. That's why he's in pain. But sometimes the off-fielder has to be taught not to play so deep in that particular situation because he's got to make a play. If the ball lands as deep as Wimmer started, he's not going to be able to throw out Thomas anyway. So in that situation for the off-fielder with not a lot of power, Thomas doesn't have too many home runs. He came into the game, well, not Thomas, but Johnson has only 1 home run. So you could come in just a little bit because you have to make a play. That run means too much.
He had 11 extra base hits, 4 triples and 7 doubles. Here's Kirk Pisker, 3 for 4 today and living up to the billing. Both he and D. Alexander will be tough outs no matter whom they face in the postseason. They have certainly sent a message today, and here's some heat from the Wild Thing.
Let her high. Tough to catch up to it up there.
It will be interesting to see how Pisker and D. Alexander fare against the 90-mile-an-hour plus fastball that Williams has to offer. Because these are the 2 men that have been turning on both Steenstra and Bluma with their base hits today. Got around on it, but right to Lansing. Nice dig by Winslow out of the dirt for the putout. 2 away.
Winslow has had a good all-around game, and he's done it in only 5 innings. As we take a look at Lansing, bravely playing through that slightly pulled hamstring.
D. Alexander with a couple of singles and an RBI. 2 for 3 this afternoon. The senior from Allen Park, Michigan, and Cabrina High School. D. Alexander did something. He's always had a short stroke, but he's shortened that stroke even more this year. And DeBryan was very surprised that he was not drafted higher last year by the Major League clubs.
Drafted by the Orioles, but he has still managed to hit 14 home runs with a shorter stroke, so that's not too bad. You hit double figures in home runs in college. He has a home run every 20 at-bats.
In fact, that may have been what cost him a higher draft, because he was He had 12 home runs his sophomore year and then down to 8 a season ago. So though the productivity was there, the scouts doubted his power. But this year he has muscled up on 14 home runs and 61 RBIs. 2-1 the count. Houck down at first. Or check that, Johnson down at second base for Arkansas. The Alexander hit .308 at last year's College World Series and had a home run off Greg Brummett, the series MVP of these Wichita State Shockers. Ball 4 outside and low. So the Alexander's aboard. They did have the base open, and Bubba Carpenter comes up. 2 down with 2 on. Bottom half of the 8th, Gene Stevenson pacing in the Shocker dugout. He wanted that pitch. No doubt about it.
Where is it? It was a strike in the first inning.
Bubba Carpenter looks at a strike on the outside corner at the knees. 0-1.
And as good as Pisker and D. Alexander are, this might be the key for the Razorbacks. Carpenter, a clutch hitter, can work the count, and he has to drive in those guys. And he has to add enough offense so that pitchers don't pitch around the previous 2 hitters.
Again, the opposite way. That one's foul, and Mears can't get to it. Norm DeBryan and his Arkansas team, known in the past more for its, again, fundamentally sound defense, just enough pitching, and enough offense to get big innings when you have to have them. Arkansas, not like a Texas-type club that's won with pitching and defense throughout the years. This team perhaps a bit more powerful on the high end of the power side from Arkansas teams of past seasons. Well, Texas A&M a year ago, where they loaded in the Southwest Conference with a lot of offensive firepower, yet did not make the College World Series. That one's grounded foul.
Sometimes you can pitch to those free-swinging, good-hitting clubs, and if you get them where 2 or 3 key players in a slump and you've got pretty good pitching around tournament time, when it appears that some of the good pitching emerges to the top, then some of those teams with the great batting averages just don't advance.
2 great starters will beat 2 great hitters in tournament play most of the time.
Anywhere.
1-2 the count. Jeff Williams, the 3rd Shocker pitcher of the day.
Across to Seams with the fastball. Sometimes when you come over the top of it, now he switches a little bit, possibly wanting a little run. Comes inside and gets him to foul it off. Carpenter looking out over the plate. They pitch him away, and he still fouls off that pitch inside, hopefully to get a pitch out over the plate that he can drive. If you're across the seams and you throw over the top, the pitch has a tendency to rise just a little bit. But as we saw the last time, he switches as he goes into his glove, maybe trying to decoy the runner. Not a lot of decoy about that. That was just a good hard fastball inside that missed the plate.
Carpenter has power to left center field, and they're not holding D. Alexander down at first, so were he to hit one in the power alley to left center, D. Alexander with the kind of speed to get around. Oh, strike 3. Again, Tim Davis behind the plate takes his time. Doug Mirabelli knew, though, didn't he? He was on his way to the dugout long before we made the call. The top of the order coming up when we return to Wichita.
Speed. Rico Fax Speed. Rico's auto dial makes super fast transmissions. Power. Rico Fax Power, the world's first dual roll fax. Rico plain paper fax. Rico, where imagination becomes reality. To find the RICO office nearest you, dial 1-800-63-RICO.
Has long been committed to automotive safety. And now, a new Cadillac is an even safer investment. With a $2,000 cash bonus on Seville and Eldorado. And a $1,500 bonus on Fleetwood, DeVille, and Brome. Engineered to provide the greatest comfort of all, peace of mind. With a $2,000 bonus, it's one of the safer investments you can make.
What can you tell me about this tennis racket?
You found it on aisle 10.
If you're tired of non-answers, come to Golf and Tennis World, where we know our sport. We're always happy to have you just browse, but if you need help, you'll get it, because we back our knowledge of our products with the true love of the sport. Shop our special savings throughout the store, or bring in your racket for restringing, and we'll re-grip it free. Golf and Tennis World. Knowledge, experience, and interest in the sport set us apart from the rest.
When shopping for a pre-owned car, remember these fine St. Louis street dealers. Lipscomb Motor Company, specializing in quality late models, all with warranties and financing available. Springfield Auto Sales, one of the largest selections of pre-owned Lincolns in town, plus other models to choose from. May Distributing Company, featuring only the finest cars and trucks, all makes, models, and price ranges. And credit car sales, offering easy on-the-spot financing as low as $25 a week on quality cars. 4 great options for buying your next pre-owned vehicle.
Trailing Florida State 4-1 in Game 13 of the College World Series, Wichita State's Gene Stevenson was in dire need of a hero. He found one in catcher Mike Wentworth. Mears at second, Jones at first. 2 out. 3-1 pitch, and it is long and gone. A home run for Wentworth. Wentworth epitomized the never-say-die Shockers, who fought off elimination 6 straight times to win their first national championship. Perhaps Gene Stevenson is looking for that same kind of hero today. Arkansas right now leading Wichita State 6-3 in 1990. I'm Tim Brando along with Billy Sample. Happy to have you with us. And you look back at that play from a year ago in Wentworth, who was a backup catcher and seeing only a little playing time. Every year when you have a national championship, you have to have a player raise his level just a bit. And that was an example of it.
You play so many games in such a short amount of time that you need your depth to come through, and that time Wentworth did.
This is a team that had 6 returning players from that club of a year ago, and you heard at the top of the telecast, Gene Stevenson disappointed in many of his upperclassmen. But look at what he's lost this year from the team of a season ago. Wedge and McDonald, that's 195 RBIs, 43 home runs, and then from a pitching standpoint, Brummett, the MVP of the series, Cedeno, and his closer, Newland.
He had to have a good recruiter just to get into this position again the following year.
No question. And the great programs still get it done, whether their coaches are disappointed or not the following year. And they have won 43 games coming into today's game. That one up in the strike zone and belted by Audley. The leadoff man is aboard here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Jim Audley with a solid single to center. Here is P.J. Forbes. And Norm DeBryan will come out to talk with Doug Bennett as Stidham gets warm down in the Arkansas bullpen. He will make the move right now.
Yeah, when the coach comes out, you knew he had to hook and wants to give Stidham some leadway, not bring the tying run to the plate. Let him pitch to a batter, keep the tying run on the on-deck circle.
A great opportunity for Stidham, who got roughed up a couple of weeks ago at Texas, and until that time appeared unhittable by Norm DeBryan. And you see the numbers on Bennett, 115 total pitches. And in college baseball, that's about the norm. They many times will pitch upwards of 120 pitches as opposed to 100 in a game. A good outing for Bennett indeed, who to this point has surrendered 3 runs on 7 hits in just over 7 innings work.
And we'll see how those right-handers stay in. Stidham coming from, where you want to say, Laredo, down under. Right-handers have to keep that shoulder in, keep that front foot stepping towards the pitcher, and leads the nation with that 0.90 earned run average.
Stidham, a natural side armor, and we've seen more and more guys that come into college baseball, the three-quarters variety, dipping down and becoming side armors. Many of them have to be sold on that idea.
Because he was over the top three-quarters before this season.
ESPN's presentation of Major League Baseball continues Sunday night. John Miller, Joe Morgan will have the Astros and Pirates. Bill Gullickson will go for the Astros. Bob Walk for the Bucks as Baseball Tonight gets underway, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on your home for Major League Baseball on cable, ESPN. First pitch is down in the strike zone from Stidham to P.J. Forbes. The count is 1-0.
That ball really had some movement on it. When Forbes started his swing, the pitch was on the inside corner where he wanted it. And then by the time he ended, it was right off his kneecap.
6-3 our score. In the bottom of the 8th, no one out. Top of the order up, and Audley began it with a single off of the starter, Doug Bennett. And now it's P.J. Forbes at the plate, facing a 1-2 count to the Arkansas stopper, Phil Stidham.
And this is what he has to look at. The previous pitch ran inside, and then Stidham goes outside with it.
As we come back live, a base hit to left field by Forbes, and the Shockers will send the tying run to the plate in the form of Mike Lansing. Not many answers for Arkansas after Stidham. So this is the guy that's going to take you to the promised land or perhaps to no man's land.
You get the feeling he's in there for the duration. Pretty good piece of hitting by Forbes. Came inside off the plate, outside, then back inside, and he was still patient enough and quick enough with the hands to get the base hit to left field.
And when you see the side armor, you obviously think of names like Quisenberry, Tekulve, and from earlier years, maybe Cecil Upshaw. Who did you face that was difficult to hit during your career that came from the side?
Dick Tidrow came from the side, and I faced Quiz a few times. And again, you try not to do too much with the ball, and that's not a bad idea.
Lansing trying to lay down the bunt for the base hit and, of course, move the runners up. Norm DeBryan looks on with the shades down. Stevenson trying to fight from behind. Wichita State, historically a team that plays well when they're in trouble. They faced 6 elimination games last year before winning the national championship. Lansing sends this one into right. Bubba Carpenter will make the grab. Audley will force the throw, but stay at second. So Lansing is retired. And the cleanup man, Pat Mears, comes up.
And not a bad time for Stidham to come into the game to have to face those right-handed hitters.
0 for 3 today, 274 on the year. This is just the kind of situation for a player that's been struggling to break out. Mears hitting cleanup with men on base late in a game against a team like Arkansas could make a difference as they focus on the postseason.
And leads the team in home runs with 12.
50 RBIs for Mears. Has been a strikeout victim far more often than Wichita State would like, as you see the 2 runners aboard. Chopped foul behind the plate.
Come on, Pat, be patient.
Mears, in fact, has K'd 7 of his last 11 at-bats.
And sometimes when you're going through a streak like this, you almost don't want to be at the plate with the game on the line. But if you have that thought, it seems as though that you come to the plate with the game on the line. So you might as well go ahead and fight through.
Down at second, P.J. Forbes at first. One down, bottom of the 8th. Just missing. Oh, now they do give him the strike. And again, Simpson with that delayed call, and Stevenson can't believe it either. And again, not that the pitch is outside the strike zone, but how long we have to wait to get the call.
Might have been outside of the strike zone. It ran back right at the end. The catchers have done a good job. Gilmore for the Razorbacks and Mirabelli as framing pitchers.
Good location that time. If you miss outside, come back inside, and that's exactly what Stidham did.
Or you could go back outside just a little bit further and hope that you get the hitter already intimidated by the fact that you hit the outside corner to chase the pitch out of the strike zone.
The 1-2. Fouled out of play. Mears is an experienced junior in every respect. He came up to Wichita State from Salina, Kansas back in '88. As a freshman, he played in all 73 games, the only shocker to accomplish that feat, starting 69 of those 73 games.
That's tough to do, to come to a program like this and start right off.
You watch games year in and year out. They all take on their own personality, but how many times with a 2-2 count do you see either the third strike or a foul ball? Very rarely would you see in this situation ball 3. There's the foul ball.
I guess you've watched a lot of baseball.
Well, you know you represent the tying run. You know he's got to come into you. You're the cleanup hitter.
Good point.
And Norm DeBryan has his best out there. He would expect nothing less.
I wonder if he took something off at this point, what Mears would do. Now he can't afford to.
Count is run to full, and again, Gilmore keeping that one out in front of him. Can't say enough about the play of both Tony Gilmore and Doug Mirabelli. Defensively, they are as good as anyone you'll see in college baseball. 3-2 with one out. Audley down at second, and P.J. Forbes at first. Got him. On the inside corner, nothing Mears could do except try to get the aluminum on the pitch.
Either this pitch runs in on him or he took something off. Oh, serious run in on the right-handed hitter. Down and in. Hard to get to that pitch. You almost have to hit it on the inner half of the ball, and to do that, you're going to hit it off your knee. Pretty good pitch.
You can see why. Stidham has been the stopper with that pitch. Mears obviously upset with himself, as Doug Mirabelli. Mirabelli steps in.
That's a pretty good average to step into a big-time college as a catcher and to hit that well, because in high school, even though he played in a pretty good one at Valley in Las Vegas, he's not going to see a lot of sliders, and he's certainly not going to see pitches like that.
Boy, to be a young catcher coming up in this day and time. How many guys you see stay in the big leagues far beyond middle infielders or outfielders simply because they can catch, and if you can catch and hit from the left side, you may even have 4 or 5 extra years.
And now can make some money.
They're thinking about the pickoff with Audley, but nothing going.
Again, that's not going to work against Wichita State because they practice that same play every day.
The 1-1 on the outside corner for strike 2 call.
And what makes that nasty is that you can't pick up the release point. Most times you're accustomed to seeing a pitcher over the top or somewhere. Stidham hides that ball. He throws his body to you initially. You have to wait to see where the ball's coming from, and subsequently you can't react quite as well, especially on a pitch away from you.
chopped foul. Count holds at 1 and 2. In case you're wondering, and I certainly am, Mirabelli with 7 home runs and 37 RBIs. He does represent the potential tying run at the plate. And with 2 down, he may be thinking long ball. The 1-2. Into left, shallow. And dropped by Houck. 1 run is in. Audley is in, and it's now a 6-4 game. There's no question that when the ball was hit, you thought it might go into the power alley. And Houck was a step behind it because he was fooled.
I believe you're right. Mirabelli takes that big swing, freezes Houck, and even though he has a lot of quickness, he had a lot of ground to cover. Made a good effort.
Depth perception when the ball is hit and you hear that ping, very difficult to know. The ball died as it reached the outfield. From our vantage point, it looked to be in the gap, a possible 2-base hit.
And sounds are the lost sense in baseball because outfielders react depending on how hard it sounds against the wood, or in this case, the aluminum.
So now Stidham must pitch out of difficulty. The go-ahead run at the plate is Scott McLuhan with Mirabelli at first. The Wichita Shockers don't have the rally caps on yet, but they're on their feet in the dugout. And P.J. Forbes down at third. The tying run is at first. And now Stidham down in the count, 2-0 to Scott McLuhan. Three and 0 to McLuhan.
I guess he could rationalize and say that he has a right-handed hitter coming up next. May feel more comfortable pitching to Winslow, but Winslow has had a pretty good day. He has 2 hits, so.
Without Winslow, they may have never gotten into the game. That's a strike on the inside corner. When he came into the game, he provided the spark to give the Shockers the runs that they had.
2 doubles and RBI.
The bases are loaded for Winslow. No place to put him for the freshman stopper, Stidham. And Bryant Winslow, 2 for 2 with 2 doubles and the RBI with the fans on their feet waiting at the plate.
I'll go out on the limb and say that if Winslow gets a hit here, he starts the rest of the year at first base.
It'd be fun to talk with Gene Stevenson after the game privately just to find out, and he probably won't say it in the local papers. Were it not for the fact that Tarr made the base running mistake back in the third, Winslow may never have come into the game. You never know.
That's true. Billy Hall going into pinch run.
He's a junior out of Wichita, Kansas, Northwest High School. Obviously, that run is the tying run, the run that matters. As far as the go-ahead run is McLuhan over at first base as Winslow stands in. A strike down the heart of the plate. Great opportunity for these youngsters to think ahead, because this is just the kind of circumstance that will get you to a College World Series or keep you in a College World Series. And this is a World Series tune-up for both. Winslow thought about going around, did not. Ball 1. 1-1 the count with 2 out. The base is jammed. Audley, Hall down at second. And McLuhan at first.
Winslow looking down to Coach Stevenson. Not just giving him a sign, but actually giving him a little bit of a pep talk. Let's go.
Chop to short. Epps makes the play. And the Hogs get out of it. The side is retired. 1 run is pushed across. Good work by Scotty Epps to get the putout. 6-4. And that's the score as well.
You're ready to pitch to him. That black and silver bat he's got looks like one of those Easton EA-70 jobs you and your catcher have been hearing about. Stronger, quicker than any bat ever made. You look in for the catcher's sign. There it is now. He wants you to roll the ball to the plate.
You're up. You're 3 for 3. And you've got the most feared Easton bat of all. So you figure you'll get his best pitch. The high, hard one. But what if it's a curve or a changeup? No sweat. Everybody knows there's no known defense against an Easton, right? Wrong.
Sunday night, the hard-charging Pirates are on a roll.
He leaps. He makes the catch.
They battle the Astros on Sunday Night Baseball, live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Baseball tonight.
ESPN's presentation of college baseball, Arkansas and Wichita State, is brought to you by Michelob Dry. Once you experience the bold taste with no aftertaste, there's no going back. 3,822 on hand at X Stadium, Tyler Field here in Wichita, Kansas, as the Shockers of Wichita State, the defending national champions, trail Arkansas by a score of 6-4. Along with Billy Sample, I'm Tim Brando, and we're happy to be here with you. A cool, blustery day in the heartland. Hayden Etheridge, 1 for 4 today to start the Arkansas night. Mike Jones has moved into the game behind the plate, replacing Miravelli. And Jeff Williams still on the mound, the Shockers' third pitcher, and he surrenders a single to Etheridge. That is the 16th Razorback hit today, and only one of those hits a 2-bagger. The rest have been
field
singles.
double. Yeah.
And here's Tony Gilmore. 0 for 4, but not in the box score, the job he's done behind the plate. He's blocked a number of key pitches that were down in the dirt, and Norm DeBryan will make a move, bringing in a pinch runner. Number 26, Ron Moore, will be the pinch runner down at first base for Hayden Etheridge. But the point on Gilmore, holding runners so important to starting pitchers. He has helped them in that cause, and the sacrifice bunt is affected as Moore moves down to second. Somebody please get the putout.
You got the feeling Gilmore was going to run back towards the plate to see if Moore would advance from second to third.
Here is Scott Epps. Very productive day for the youngster from Jinx, Oklahoma, and Jinx High School. 3 for 4 this afternoon. 1 out, 1 on. Norm DeBryan recognizing the importance of an insurance run here with the pinch runner aboard and Ron Moore down at second base.
And you mentioned the 16 Razorback hits, but they have needed every one of them.
Strike call, again down in the strike zone, but that's been the home plate umpire Tim Davis's zone all day long. The 1-1. Off-speed pitch inside for a ball. 2-1 the count.
Epps has had his hits all over the field, though they play him to the off field with Williams throwing so hard.
You know, when you come up and you remember all your championships, whether they be in the termite leagues, midget, or whatever, Scott Epps was the MVP in that Oklahoma-California All-Star game. And when he was 12 years old, he won the Pee Wee Reese World Series. That was back in 1982. When you remember that coming up.
Come on.
Ground ball in the hole. Lansing will make the play defensively, but certainly cannot make the throw. But he will keep Moore down at second by having stopped that ball, and Epps is 4 for 5 today.
And Lansing with the bad left hamstring, once he gets to this ball, it's hard to plant, though Epps has good speed, and he was best advised not to throw the ball.
Tim Thomas has been your better-than-average ninth-hole hitter for Arkansas this afternoon. Now, when you put up averages, particularly in the 9-hole, he's 1 for 2, and you see that, 2 walks. The on-base percentage very, very good to Tim Thomas throughout the year and again today.
Especially when your number 1 and 2 hitters are swinging the bat well.
Epps at first. Ron Moore down at second. Arkansas holding to a 2-1 lead. Thomas goes down on strike. Boy, he could not come around on this heater. Ball was in the mitt as the swing had begun.
Well, we mentioned earlier that Thomas likes the ball away. But this time the pitch on the outside corner, and Thomas couldn't foul it off.
Overmatched that time by Jeff Williams. And here is Jeff Houck, the Arkansas leadoff man. Grounded to second, and P.J. Forbes over to Winslow, and the Hogs are retired. Nothing across. They lead 2, but lead by 2 as we head to the 9th. Arkansas leads the defending national champs.
What can you tell me about this tennis racket?
You found it on aisle 10.
If you're tired of non-answers, come to Golf and Tennis World, where we know our sports. We're always happy to have you just browse, but if you need help, you'll get it, because we back our knowledge of our products with a true love of the sport. Shop our special savings throughout the store, or bring in your racket for restringing, and we'll regrip it free. Golf and Tennis World. Knowledge, experience, and interest in the sport set us apart from the rest.
Smoked barbecue. Where can you get that smoked-in flavor with Ozark Hickory smoked sauce plus seafood or food bar with catfish, ribs, fried chicken, and more? Only at Tiny Smokehouse Barbecue. And now enjoy our food bar seafood special with crab and sea legs, fried and spiced shrimp for only $9.95, or select from the menu one of our luncheon specials starting at $3.50. Smoked-in flavor on the #1 barbecue in town, Tiny Smokehouse Barbecue. Visit our new location opening soon at 330 East.
There are those who thirst for something different, an escape from the ordinary. For them, there is a beer that refreshes like no other, Michelob Dry. Once you've experienced its bold taste with no aftertaste, there's no going back.
Life's full of simple pleasures, like the comfort of Levi's jeans. Or had you forgotten?
Couple of late-inning defensive changes by Norm DeBryan of Arkansas, sending Blake Little to right. Bubba Carpenter had been there. Bubba will move over to first base for Hayden Etheridge, who you'll recall was pulled for the pinch runner, Ron Moore, in the last half inning. We welcome you back to X Stadium in Wichita. Tim Brando along with Billy Sample. And we move to the 9th, the Shockers' last chance, the bottom half of the inning. Carl Hall to lead it off against Phil Stidham. Stidham should be confident, having pitched out of that jam in the 8th with the bases loaded. Getting the cleanup man Mears to strike out. And then Winslow, who had been so difficult for them, finally retired. So he should be feeling pretty good right now, number 14 for Arkansas.
Well, some of those relievers need people on base to feel comfortable, and the way Stidham's working the first hitter, Carl Hall, as we look at the rally caps, you get the feeling he's going to need a base runner before he can settle down.
Hall takes a strike, 3-1 the count.
Be ready, Carl. Be patient.
Hall takes yet another. It's 3-2. If Wichita State gets runners aboard, and it would be their right fielder with speed, their left fielder with speed, and then the top of the order, Norm DeBryan would have to be concerned because Wichita State could score runs from first base with any ball hit into the gap. And Hall is aboard. Arkansas, with only average arms in the outfield. Johnson does not have a big arm. Neither does Houck. We've seen an example of that today when he tried to throw out a runner at home plate. They have made the change with Blake Little out in right field and Chris Wimmer up at the plate. He'll lay it down and try to get on with it. The throw in time. Gene Stevenson will argue, and he may have a point.
Not a very good play by Stidham. No chance. No sense in making a chance with the lead runner. That run is not going to beat you. All you want in that situation is an out. It doesn't matter whether it's the lead runner or the back runner. And this play could have been called either way. Hall could have easily been called safe. We'll take another look.
The only reason I question the call is because he was not that convincing when he punched him out. Take a look. No doubt he's in. No doubt. They missed it.
Bad break for the Shockers. Forbes bunting for a hit. Gets a pretty bunt down, but at that point, Stidham had a play at first base. He just needs outs. You'll exchange an out for a 90-foot advance.
The first angle, the better angle, and he was safe, though called out. And anytime you see an umpire pause, and it's a pregnant pause before he punches a runner out in a critical situation like that, you know he too may be questioning his own decision.
Not a very decisive call.
Jim Audley at the plate, 1 for 4. And Wimmer over at first base. There's the ball in the air. The foot clearly on second base. He missed it.
And maybe those are the kind of breaks that haven't been going the Shockers' way this year.
Dennis Walker, the second base umpire, along with Mike Hall at third and Tim Davis behind the plate. Keith Jackson over at first, for the most part, have called a very good game. But in this case, they missed one. Pitch just inside, 3-1 the count.
But you still don't get the feeling that the Razorbacks are out of the woods yet.
No, because Stidham's so behind on each count. You're right. Just on the outside corner. Shockers are hopeful. Shoulders are getting lighter rather than heavier in that dugout. 3-2 with 1 out. Wimmer at first. Big pitch to left field. Runners will hold, and once again, the potential winning run will come to the plate. The tying run is on at first base in the form of Wimmer, and the top of the order, Jim Audley, coming up.
Get behind the plate, work the ball.
Sinking fastball away from him. And Audley going with the pitch. Nice try by Epps, but runners at first and second. and the winning run, the potential winning run at the plate in the name of P.J. Forbes.
I beg your pardon, it was Audley that got that base hit, so it's P.J. Forbes at the plate. Shockers have not come from behind. We showed you graphically when behind after 6 innings. 12 times this year they've lost games, and this one is lifted to second and caught by Tim Thomas. Still 2 down.
And for a while, Thomas couldn't pick up the ball, fighting the wind, fighting the sun.
And the sun had just opened up through these clouds today and was a factor here for Thomas.
Battling the sun, shielding his eyes. Now he found it the last second and a half.
Mike Lansing, a question mark coming into today's game. And Thomas will come in to get his sunglasses.
Better be safe than sorry.
If there's a base hit here by Lansing, the call at second will come into play in a hurry. And there again is a look at the sky. The high clouds coming into play, the grayness moving out, and this is a very difficult situation for infielders to deal with if they haven't been used to it all day long.
And with the blue between the white clouds, that can be just as tough.
Lansing the question mark because of the pulled hamstring, deciding to play. Already it's made a difference. He'd like to make more difference. Chopped foul down the third base side.
Come on, Mike.
Todd Dreifert, who has seen appreciable playing time, is on deck. He would bat for Mears, who struck out back in the 8th with men aboard. The pitch is outside for a ball. 2-1 to Mike Lansing. In defensive Lansing, with no longer an Eric Wedge in the lineup, he's not seeing the same type of pitches he saw a year ago. There is a soft one into center that's caught, and the game is over. Mark Johnson makes the catch, and the Razorbacks win it by a final score of 6-4. Billy, your first collegiate game to work for us here at ESPN, your thoughts?
It was just as exciting as it was 15 years ago. We saw a good matchup today, good pitching, a lot of good hitting, good clinical hitting. I thought I was very much impressed with Arkansas. I was impressed with Wichita State fighting back, and I'm sure that's how they won the national championship last year. 27 hits in all in this game, 17 of those from Arkansas, and only 1 of those for extra bases. They needed them all to win by 2 runs, though, didn't they? We'll be back.